not choose to feel this way this week. Something has been leaning on you, quietly and steadily, and it has been leaning toward this exact weekend, the way a compass needle leans north, no matter how many times you turn the case. Chosen one, I need you to hear this while the days still stand in front of you. Lately, you have been waking before your alarm with a sense of something approaching. You have caught yourself standing still in the middle of ordinary tasks, listening for a sound the room was not making. You told yourself it was stress. It was not stress. There are 3 days directly ahead of you. July 4th, July 5th, July 6th. The restlessness you have been carrying is not random weather in your soul. It is the feeling of an appointment you never wrote down, arriving anyway. And this message exists for one reason: to make sure you do not sleep through it. Before this message ends, I am going to place a name on you. Not a compliment, an actual name. It is the name heaven keeps for the person who refuses to slide past a set-apart moment. When you hear it, something in your chest will settle, because it has been yours for a long time. But it can only be spoken at the end, after you understand what these 3 days are asking of you. Here is what I can promise you if you stay. First, you will understand why this specific window matters and why your soul knew about it before your mind did. Second, you will feel a weight lift that you have been calling by the wrong name for years, maybe your whole life. And third, you will walk away with something to actually do, one clear practice for each of the 3 days, simple enough to begin tomorrow morning. 3 promises: understanding for your mind, release for your heart, and a map for your hands. Hold me to all 3, but let me be honest with you before we take one more step, because honesty is the only ground worth standing on. I am not going to tell you the sky will fall on July 6th. I am not going to describe catastrophes or paint disasters over your future. Anyone who claims to know exactly what God will do on a specific date, down to the hour, is trading in fear, and fear is not the language of the Father. The warning in this message is quieter than that, and far more expensive. The cost of these 3 days is not what might happen to you inside the window. The cost is what will not happen in you if you scroll past it. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of July 6th. The only force in the universe that can cancel that version is your own distraction. Think about what the world will be doing during this window. Fireworks, cookouts, crowds, and noise. The loudest weekend of the entire American summer. And is that not exactly how set-apart moments prefer to arrive? Hidden inside the noise, so that only the ones who are actually listening ever find them. While everyone else watches the sky flash, you are being invited to watch something else entirely. I should also say plainly that this message is not for everyone. If nothing in you has been stirring this week, if these dates are just squares on a calendar to you, you are free to go, and there is no shame in it. But if something in your skin prickled when I named those days, stay. That prickle is the oldest doorbell in the world, and it does not ring by accident. Now let me give you something real in these first minutes, not just promises, because you deserve at least one answer before you decide to walk the rest of this road with me. Here is the pattern you have been living. You can drift through your phone for 2 hours without any effort at all. But the moment you sit down to pray, or write the plan, or have the conversation you know is overdue, a fog rolls in. Your body turns restless. You suddenly remember 10 small errands that could have waited a week. The important thing repels you, while the trivial thing swallows you whole. You have explained this to yourself as laziness, or a ruined attention span, or simple tiredness from a life that asks too much. I want you to notice that this explanation has never once helped you change anything. There is a reason for that. The explanation is not true. What is actually happening is that your soul keeps a calendar your mind has never seen. When a set-apart moment approaches, The deepest part of you begins to prepare, while the shallow part of you begins to panic. That collision is the restlessness. That is the pressure behind your ribs this week. I call it the quiet deadline, an appointed time that never shouts, never sends a reminder, and never begs for your attention. It simply arrives, and then it passes, and it takes its gifts with it either way. Feel what happens in your body as you hear that. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You have been sensing an arrival. The fog around important things is not a character flaw. It is evidence that something in you knows the difference between what matters and what merely fills time. Later in this message, I will open the full machinery underneath the quiet deadline, including a physical piece of it that science only confirmed within living memory. The restlessness, you see, is only half of the story. For now, do one small thing. If anything in the last 2 minutes sounded like your own life being read back to you, go to the comments and type the words, "I will not ignore it." 5 words. Not for me. For the part of you that has been waiting years to see whether you would finally say them out loud, there is a reason those 5 words matter more than they appear to. Every ignored appointment in your past began with a smaller ignoring. A glance away, a tab opened, a promise to come back later. The words, "I will not ignore it," are a fence built around this hour. Small fences have saved entire destinies. And now, before I can show you what the 3 days ask of you, I have to show you who they are asking. Because this window was not scheduled for everyone. It was scheduled for a particular kind of soul, and there are 5 signs that the soul in question is yours. Some of them will be comfortable to hear. At least one of them will not. The first sign is that time itself has felt strange to you lately. Whole days have been blurring past like scenery from a train window, and then suddenly, without warning, a single ordinary moment turns sharp and vivid, as if someone raised the resolution of the world. You have looked at a clock and felt oddly certain you were meant to notice it. You could not say why. You just knew the moment was looking back at you. That strangeness is not your mind slipping. When a set-apart season approaches, the soul begins to sort time into piles, the hours that matter and the hours that merely pass. What you have been feeling is the sorting. Most people never feel it at all, because most people have never once been quiet enough to catch time changing its texture. The second sign is that old chapters have been resurfacing this week, specifically this week. A name you had not thought of in years floated up while you washed dishes. A face from a closed season appeared in a dream and would not explain itself. Perhaps an old song found you 3 times in 4 days. You wondered if you were becoming sentimental. You are not becoming sentimental. Life reviews its unfinished pages right before a deadline, the same way a student reviews notes the night before an exam. The old names are rising because something in you is deciding what still needs to be cut loose and what needs to be carried across. This is preparation, not nostalgia. The past is standing in line, waiting to be dismissed properly. The third sign lives in your body. At night, when the house finally goes quiet, there is a tightness that sits somewhere between your chest and your throat, too high to be hunger and too low to be a lump of tears. It eases when you finally sit completely still, and it returns the moment you reach for the phone. That tightness is a message that keeps being returned to sender. Your body has always known things before you did. It knew who to trust and who to fear when you were small, long before anyone taught you words for it. Right now, it is holding a sentence it has been trying to deliver for weeks. The 3 days ahead of you are, among other things, the appointment where that sentence finally gets spoken. The fourth sign is the strangest one, and I want you to check yourself honestly against it. Somewhere in the last stretch of days, you have felt a sudden, almost physical urge to clear things out. to empty a closet, to delete old messages, to unsubscribe, to cancel, to scrub a counter that was already clean. It came over you like weather, and you did not connect it to anything spiritual at all. Connect it now. That urge is your life rehearsing severance. Before every true crossing, something in a person starts throwing ballast off the boat. The hands begin practicing what the heart has not yet agreed to do. When you caught yourself purging a drawer for no reason, you were watching your own deep self prepare for July 4th without your permission. And the fifth sign is the one that may sting a little. Your usual anesthetics have stopped working. The scrolling that used to soothe you now leaves you emptier faster. The show you loved feels like chewing on air. Even the small indulgences, the snack, the purchase, the harmless gossip wear off in minutes and leave a metallic aftertaste of wasted time. You have noticed this. You have been trying not to notice that you noticed. Numbness only works on a soul that has nowhere to be. The moment an appointment approaches, the anesthesia thins because the deepest part of you refuses to let you sleep through your own summons. If distraction has been failing you lately, chosen one. That failure is one of the kindest gifts you have ever been given. The exits are being closed on purpose, and what is closing them loves you. Count your signs honestly. If even 2 of the 5 are yours, this window has your name on it. If 4 or 5 are yours, then you already knew before I said a word, and you have simply been waiting for someone to confirm what the inside of your chest has been shouting in a whisper all week. Now I want to do something I will only do 3 times in this entire message, because it is not a thing to be done casually. I want to step aside and let the words come from a higher place than mine. If the Father were to put language to what has been happening inside you this week, I believe, with everything in me, that it would sound like this. My child, I have been slowing you down on purpose. The restlessness is not punishment, and the heaviness is not abandonment. It is my hand resting on your shoulder, the way a father rests a hand on a child who is about to walk somewhere important. I set these days apart for you before you knew they were coming. I am not asking you to be ready. I am asking you to be present. Sit with that for a moment. Not ready, present. All your life you have disqualified yourself from sacred moments because you were not prepared enough, not clean enough, not disciplined enough. And here is heaven asking for the one thing you can actually give on short notice, your presence. 3 days of it. If those words landed anywhere near the tightness in your chest, I want you to answer them. Go to the comments and type 3 days set apart. 4 words that turn a calendar into an altar. When you type them, you are not making a promise to me. You are countersigning an invitation that was drafted long before this week. And watch what other people have written when you get there. You will see the same 4 words from strangers in different time zones, night shift nurses and truck drivers, and mothers typing with one thumb while a baby sleeps on their arm. Every one of them felt the same pull toward the same window. You were never as alone in this as the enemy of your soul kept insisting. But now a harder question has to be faced, and I am not going to soften it because the title of this message made you a promise, and I intend to keep it. You want to know what ignoring this window would actually cost you, not in vague spiritual language. In real terms, in the currency of your one life. So let us open the books and count the cost together. Because here is what almost nobody understands about missed windows. The cost is never charged all at once. If it were, everyone would pay attention. No, the cost of an ignored appointment is charged slowly, in installments, spread so thin across the following year that you never once connect the payments to the day you scrolled past. You simply wonder, 12 months later, why you are still exactly where you were. Let me name the symptom precisely, because you are living with it right now. Somewhere in you there is a list, It is not written anywhere, but you know every item on it. The conversation you keep meaning to have, the forgiveness you keep meaning to release, the gift you keep meaning to take seriously, the one everyone always said you had, the prayer life you keep meaning to rebuild. The list follows you like a polite ghost. And at certain markers of the year, a birthday, a new January, a quiet Sunday evening, you feel the same familiar pinch. Still not done. Another season gone, and the list is untouched. You feel it, you flinch, and then you reach for something to scroll, and the pinch fades until the next marker. That cycle, chosen one, has been running for years. For some of you, for decades. You have explained this cycle with one word: procrastination, or its more spiritual cousin, waiting for the right time. You have called yourself undisciplined, unmotivated, maybe even unfaithful. And every time you use those words, you feel a little worse and change absolutely nothing. Let me say what should be obvious by now. If self-blame were going to fix this, it would have fixed it 15 years ago. The truth is stranger and much more freeing. The real reason the list never shrinks has nothing to do with laziness. Deferred inner work does not sit quietly at zero interest, waiting for you. Psychologists have known for nearly a century that the unfinished task does not leave the mind. It stays open, humming, like an app running behind the screen, draining the battery even while you do other things. The mind treats later as if it were a place, a real location where the postponed thing waits safely. But later is not a place. Later is a direction, and things sent in that direction never arrive anywhere. They just travel endlessly inside you, and you pay for their fuel. Every postponed conversation, every unclaimed gift, every delayed obedience draws a small daily payment of energy to keep it suppressed. There is a name for this, and I want you to have it. I call it the postponement tax. The invisible daily charge your soul pays on every important thing you have moved to later. You do not feel the tax as a single bill. You feel it as tiredness that sleep does not fix, as a low hum of guilt with no clear address, as the strange heaviness of a life that looks fine on paper and feels like wading through water. Now run your history back through this one idea and watch what happens. All those years you called yourself lazy, you were not lazy. You were exhausted because you were carrying an enormous invisible payroll. Some of you have been paying tax on the same postponed thing since you were 19 years old. The wonder is not that you achieved so little. The wonder is that you achieved anything at all while funding that much suppression. Do you feel the shift? The past just changed its meaning. You were never a failure at life. You were a soul paying compound interest on unopened instructions, and nobody ever showed you the ledger. You could not fight a cost you could not see. Today, you see it, and what is seen can finally be settled. Here is the agency I promised, the part you can do immediately, tonight, before the window even opens. The tax on any postponed thing stops accruing the moment the payment is scheduled, not paid. Scheduled. The mind releases the open loop the instant a real date is attached to it. This is why these 3 days matter so much more than a vague someday ever could. July 4th, 5th, and 6th are, quite literally, a payment window. So take a piece of paper, a real one, and write a single sentence. Name the one item from your invisible list that has been charging you the longest. Just name it, and next to it, write the words, "This weekend." That is all. Feel what your body does when you write it. Most people feel the strangest sensation, a loosening, as if some internal accountant finally exhaled after years of holding the books open. That loosening is the beginning of everything this message will do in you. And if you just felt it, even faintly, I want you to mark the moment. Type in the comments, "I stop paying the tax." 5 words of resignation submitted to the oldest thief in your life. Somewhere on the other side of this screen, another tired soul will read your 5 words and realize they were never lazy either. Now, before we walk into the window itself, I owe you a piece of the mystery I hinted at in the beginning. I told you the restlessness was only half of the story. Here is the other half, or at least the doorway to it. Everything I have described so far, the fog around important things, the pull of the trivial, the ease of scrolling and the strain of praying, has a physical accomplice, not a spiritual one. A physical one, sitting inside your skull right now. There is a specific reason distraction wins so easily against intention, and it is not a character flaw or a demon or a lack of willpower. It is closer to an injury, a disconnection, in the most literal sense of that word. Science stumbled onto it in a laboratory, almost by accident, while studying something else entirely, and the discovery was considered so important that it received the highest honor the scientific world can give. When I first understood what it meant, I sat back in my chair and thought of every person who ever called themselves lazy or scattered or too old to change. They were all describing the same hidden mechanism, and none of them knew it. I am not going to open that door yet. It belongs at a specific point in this journey, after the window has done its first work in you, because knowledge handed over too early becomes trivia instead of medicine. But hold this close as we walk. What you have been calling your weakness has an anatomy. It was found, it was measured, and it can be addressed. Remember that phrase, because when we return to it, everything about your scattered years will click into place. To understand what these 3 days actually are, you need one word. It is not an English word, because English, for all its riches, does not have a word strong enough for this. It comes from the old tongue of Israel, the language in which the idea of a set-apart time was first given to the human race. The word is QADASH. QADASH means to consecrate, to set apart, to withdraw a thing from common use so that it becomes available for one holy use. When a vessel in the ancient temple was QADASH, it was not because the vessel was better metal than the pots in the marketplace. It was the same bronze, the same clay. The difference was not in the material, the difference was in the assignment. Hear that again, because it dismantles a lie you have carried for years. Set apart never meant superior, it meant reassigned. When heaven sets 3 days apart for you, it is not asking whether you are made of better material than your neighbors. It is telling you that the same ordinary hours everyone else will spend on fireworks and hot dogs have been given a different assignment in your life. And QADASH has one more secret inside it. In the old texts, people were almost never told to consecrate themselves after the wonder. They were told to do it before. Readiness first, then the crossing. The consecration was the human half of a divine appointment, the half that heaven refused to do for them, because presence cannot be outsourced. There is a moment in the old story of Israel that I want to set in front of you, because it is the clearest picture of the exact position you are standing in tonight. The people had wandered for 40 years, an entire generation of waiting, circling, almost arriving, and then, one evening, camped at the edge of the Jordan River, their leader Joshua sent word through the camp with instructions for the next day. "Consecrate yourselves," he said, "for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." Stop and look at the structure of that sentence. The wonder was already scheduled. Tomorrow was not a maybe. The river was going to open whether any individual tent in that camp took the evening seriously or not. The only variable, the only thing left undecided on the night before, was who would be ready. Heaven had set the date. The people were asked to set themselves. And notice what consecration meant for them in practice. It was not a theological exam. They washed. They set down what should not cross the river with them. They turned their attention, for one evening, wholly toward what was coming. Ordinary actions, done with total intention. That is all QADASH has ever required. Not perfection, direction. Now here is the question that should be pressing on you. What would it have cost a family in that camp to shrug that evening off? To say, "We have heard big promises for 40 years. Tonight I would rather sleep." The river would still have opened. The wonder would still have happened. But they would have stumbled into the defining morning of their generation, unwashed, unprepared, and half asleep, and carried that regret quietly for the rest of their lives. The wonder happens either way. Readiness is the only thing that was ever yours to supply. That is the entire architecture of the warning you clicked on. Nobody is threatening you with catastrophe. You are being told the river has a date, and the date is this weekend, and the only question left open is the condition you arrive in. There is a shape to how these set-apart windows work, a shape that repeats through the old stories so consistently that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I call it the third day pattern. Across the ancient texts, the decisive turn again and again arrives not in a single dramatic moment, but across a 3-day arc. Day 1 severs. Day 2 is silent. Day 3 commissions. Abraham walked 3 days toward the mountain before he lifted his eyes and saw the place. Jonah sat 3 days in the dark before he was returned to his calling. The prophet Hosea told a broken people, "After 2 days he will revive us. On the 3rd day he will raise us up." And at the very center of the faith held by billions stands a sealed tomb, a silent Saturday, and a 3rd-day morning that rearranged history. I am not telling you that God is limited to 3s, and I am not promising you a miracle with a timestamp. I am showing you a pattern in how transformation actually moves. Real change is almost never one clean lightning strike. It is a severing, then a stillness, then ascending. The 3 days in front of you follow that exact grammar, and that is why there are 3 of them and not 1. So here is the map of your window, and we will walk each day in depth before this message is through. July 4th is the day of release, the severance day, when you cut what must not cross with you. July 5th is the day of silence, the listening day, when you stop transmitting and finally receive. And July 6th is the day of commissioning, the first step day, when what you heard becomes something you do. Release, silence, commission. Write those 3 words somewhere. You will see them this weekend, on a sticky note, on a mirror, on the back of your hand if you have to. They are the entire assignment. Everything else in this message is simply teaching you how to carry them out, and what has been stopping you from carrying them out for years. Before we open day 1, mark your position. If you can feel that you are no longer just listening to a message but standing inside an appointment, type in the comments, "I am in the window." 5 words. Say them from inside, not outside, because that is where you now are. Day 1, July 4th, the day of release. There is a reason severance has to come first, and it is not spiritual decoration. Nothing new can be received by hands that are still gripping something old. Every crossing in the ancient stories began with a putting down. The people at the Jordan set aside what should not cross. Passengers lighten the boat before the storm, not during it. Day 1 exists because you are carrying cargo that was never approved for the far side of this window. Let me tell you what kind of cargo I mean, and I want you to notice which item makes your stomach tighten, because that tightening is a table of contents for your day 1. There is the grudge you have been feeding so long it feels like a pet. There is the identity of the overlooked one, the passed over one, which hurts you and yet fits you like an old coat. There is the habit you negotiate with every single night. And there is the story that says you are behind, too late, too old, disqualified. None of that is allowed across. Not because God is strict, but because the far side of this window is built for a version of you that is not paying the postponement tax anymore, and every item on that list is a tax bill with legs. So here is the practice for July 4th, and I promise you, it is simple enough to do in 15 minutes, and serious enough to change the temperature of your entire year. Sometime on day 1, find 20 minutes alone. Take 2 pieces of paper. On the first, write what ends here, then list, in plain, blunt words, the things that do not cross with you. Name them like you are naming passengers being removed from a flight. The grudge against your brother. The 3am scrolling. The belief that I missed my chance. Do not write an essay. Essays are how the mind hides. Write short, brutal, honest lines, and when the list is done, read it out loud once, alone, at normal speaking volume. There is something about the voice that the pen cannot do. Words that leave the body through the mouth take some of the body with them. You will feel at least one line catch in your throat. That line is the real one. Read it again, and then do something physical with that paper. Some of you will tear it slowly into strips. Some of you, with proper care and a metal bowl, will burn it. And on the 4th of July, nobody in your neighborhood will even turn their head at a small flame. Some of you will bury it under a tree. The method does not matter. What matters is that your hands perform what your heart is declaring, because the body believes actions long before it believes intentions. The second piece of paper is just one sentence. What crosses with me? Write the single postponed thing you named earlier in this message, the one that has been charging you the longest. That paper you keep, fold it small and put it in your wallet or your phone case. Somewhere it will bump into your fingers all weekend. One paper destroyed, one paper carried. Severance and intention in a single evening. Now I need to warn you about what will happen while you try to do this, because forewarned is fortified. At some point on day 1, probably in the exact minutes you set aside for this practice, you will feel an almost gravitational pull to do anything else. The phone will feel magnetic. A chore will suddenly seem urgent. Someone will text you the moment you sit down, as if the universe itself were conspiring to keep you shallow. Expect it. Smile at it, even. That resistance is not a sign you are doing something wrong. It is the surest sign in the world that you are doing something that matters. Meaningless activities are never resisted. Nobody ever felt a mysterious fog roll in while reaching for a bag of chips. The fog guards doors. When you feel it thicken, you may be certain you are standing in front of one. And here is a gentler word for those of you already feeling a quiet grief about this. Some of what you must release on day 1, you have loved. Not everything we carry wrongly is ugly. Some of it is an old dream that expired and was never buried. Some of it is a person who left and took a season with them. Releasing is not the same as pretending it never mattered. You are allowed to lay a thing down with honor, the way a soldier folds a flag. Grief and obedience can share the same 20 minutes. When your day 1 practice is done, do not expect fireworks inside your chest just because there are fireworks in the sky. Severance usually feels less like ecstasy and more like the strange lightness of a room after old furniture has finally been hauled out. A little empty, a little echoing. That emptiness is not a problem. It is the prepared space that day 2 requires, because silence needs somewhere to sit. If you already know what will be on your first paper, do not wait to say so. Type in the comments, "I release it on day 1." 6 words that put the cargo on notice. A full day before the flight. Sometimes the bravest sentence is the one written before the battle. Before we can open day 2, I have to show you the enemy of all 3 days, because it is already planning its campaign against your weekend. It lives in your pocket, but it is not your phone. It is something your nervous system does with your phone, and once you see it clearly, you will never fully unsee it again. Watch the pattern. You send a message that took courage, and before it is even delivered, your thumb is already pulling a feed downward. You sit at a red light, and the hand moves by itself. You kneel to pray, and 40 seconds in, you are somehow reading about the private life of a celebrity you do not respect. And here is the detail that matters most. The reach happens before any decision to reach. You never chose. You surfaced mid-scroll, like a sleepwalker waking in the kitchen. You have called this addiction, or weakness, or just being a person in the modern world. Everyone does it, you say, and that is true, and it explains nothing. Because the question is not why you scroll. The question is why the scrolling strikes at those precise moments, the courageous text, the quiet prayer, the thought about your calling. Randomness does not keep a schedule like that. Here is what is actually happening. I call it the scroll reflex. It is not an appetite for the trivial. It is a trained flinch away from the significant. Whenever a moment carries weight that might demand something of you, a response, a decision, a feeling, the mind flinches toward anything weightless. The feed is simply the nearest weightless object ever invented. You are not being pulled by the trash. You are fleeing the treasure. Psychologists have watched this pattern for decades, long before phones existed. The mind protects itself from demand. Significance is demand. A holy weekend with your name on it is enormous demand. And so the flinch, repeated 10,000 times, has worn a groove so deep that your thumb now performs your avoidance for you, automatically, loyally, without ever consulting you at all. Now take this understanding and pour it backward over your history, because this is where the mercy is. All those evenings you lost to the glowing rectangle, all those years you summarized as I waste too much time, were not proof of a shallow soul. They were proof of a soul that felt too much and was never taught what to do with the feeling. You did not numb yourself because you cared about nothing. You numbed yourself because you cared about everything, and caring hurt. Read that again if you need to. The scroll was never hunger. It was anesthesia, and nobody anesthetizes a limb that has no feeling in it. The very reflex you have hated in yourself is evidence of the depth the Father intends to use. So here is how you disarm it, and you can begin tonight before the window even opens. A reflex survives on darkness. It operates only while unobserved. The moment you catch the reach as it happens and simply name it, quietly, out loud if you can, there goes the flinch. The circuit is interrupted, not by force, by witness. You do not need more willpower. You need 3 seconds of noticing. So this weekend, every time your hand drifts toward the phone, do not fight it and do not follow it. Just say, there goes the flinch, and then decide on purpose. Sometimes you will still scroll, and that is fine, because now it is a choice and not a possession. But you will be astonished how often the hand simply lowers, embarrassed, like a pickpocket caught by a calm store owner who only said, I see you. And do one structural thing as well, because structure is kindness to your future self. During the 3 practices of these 3 days, the 15 minutes on day 1, the silence on day 2, the step on day 3, let the phone be in another room entirely. Not face down, not on silent, in another room. A reflex cannot fire at an object that is not there, and you deserve 3 small pockets of hours in which your oldest escape route is simply closed. Understand what is truly at stake in this one small battle. The entire cost of this window, the whole warning inside the title that brought you here, comes down to whether the scroll reflex wins 3 specific days or loses them. That is the battlefield. Not the sky, not world events, 72 hours and 1 thumb. If you are ready to fight on that field, declare it where declarations count. Type in the comments, I break the scroll reflex. 5 words. The reflex has never once been named in public by the person it operates. Naming it there, where your own eyes will see it in writing, is the first interruption of the circuit. Day 2, July 5th. The day of silence. If day 1 is the day your hands finally act, day 2 is the day your mouth finally closes. And I will tell you now, before we go any further, that of the 3 days, this is the one most people fail. Release feels dramatic and satisfying. First steps feel productive. But silence feels like nothing, and the modern soul has been trained to treat nothing as unbearable. Yet look at the pattern we traced through the old stories. Between the severing and the raising, there is always a silent middle. The sealed tomb has a Saturday. The 3-day arc holds a day in which, from the outside, absolutely nothing happens. And it is precisely in that nothing that everything is decided, because day 2 is not empty. Day 2 is when the transmission direction reverses. Think about your prayer life. Honestly, for most of us, prayer has been almost entirely outbound. Requests, reports, apologies, negotiations. We speak, we sign off, we leave. Year after year of transmission, with the receiver switched off. And then we stand in the kitchen and say, God never speaks to me. Chosen one, the line was never dead. The line was busy. You were the one holding it open in the outbound direction. July 5th is the day you hang up the outbound line and simply listen. Here is the practice, and I am going to be specific, because vague instructions produce vague weekends. Choose 3 windows of 10 minutes on day 2. Morning, midday, evening, roughly. No legalism about the clock. In each one, you sit somewhere ordinary, a chair, a porch step, the edge of the bed. The phone is in another room, and the house of your attention is swept. You bring only 2 things, a notebook and 1 question, and the question is this: what is the first step you are asking of me? Not the whole plan, not the 5-year vision, the first step. Heaven rarely hands over blueprints, because blueprints replace trust. It hands over next steps, one at a time, each one small enough to survive your doubt. So you sit, you breathe slowly, you ask the question once, and then you stay. You do not repeat it, you do not beg, you asked. Now you listen, and you write down whatever rises, without editing, without arguing. A name, a sentence, a memory that seems unrelated, an urge to open a certain door or make a certain call. Do not grade what comes. Day 2 is for receiving, day 3 is for sorting. Some of what you write will be noise, and that is expected. But somewhere in those pages there will be a line with a different weight to it, and you will know it when you reread it, the way a parent knows their own child in a crowd. Now let me prepare you for what silence will actually feel like, because if no one warns you, you will think you are failing. The first minutes will be loud, not around you, inside you. Errands will present themselves with absurd urgency. Old embarrassments will replay. Your nose will itch, your back will complain, your mind will offer you every unfinished argument it has on file. This is not the silence failing. This is the backlog clearing. Every quiet moment you have avoided for years left a little unprocessed residue behind, and all of it has been waiting in a queue for the first real stillness you granted. So the static is not a wall between you and the voice. The static is the first thing the silence needs to wash out. Sit through it. It thins, usually somewhere in the second sitting, sometimes in the third. And what is underneath the static is worth every inch. I want to give you a picture to hold on to. A jar of river water, shaken, is completely opaque. You can stare into it all day and see nothing. Nobody clarifies that jar by shaking it harder or by peering more intensely. You set it down. That is the entire technique. You set it down, and the sediment sinks on its own schedule, and clarity happens to the water while the water does nothing at all. Your mind on July 5th is that jar. Day 2 does not ask you to achieve clarity. It asks you to stop shaking. There is one more piece to day 2, and it will be harder than the sitting. From when you wake until when you sleep on July 5th, fast from inputs as much as your real life allows. No news, no podcasts, no background chatter of other voices pouring opinions into you. Music, if you must, but choose what points upward. For one day, be hard to reach and easy to fill. The ancient camp at the Jordan did not spend their consecration evening reviewing the opinions of 40 strangers. They kept the channel clear because they knew what was scheduled for morning. If your heart is already leaning toward that quiet chair, say so before the noise talks you out of it. Type in the comments, "I am listening now." 4 words that flip the direction of a lifetime of transmission. Somewhere in the silence of day 2, those words become literal. But now I have to name the deeper reason day 2 frightens you, because it is not really about itchy stillness or a noisy mind. Those are surface excuses. There is a symptom underneath, and I want to describe it so precisely that you feel found. You consume spiritual content constantly. Messages like this one, sermons, devotionals, verses on images. You skim, you nod, you save for later. But an actual unhurried sit, alone, with the receiver open and no exit in reach, you have quietly avoided for years. You will read about listening all day long. You will do almost anything except listen. And you have never once asked yourself why the appetite and the avoidance live in the same chest. The explanation you carry is that you are too busy, or too distractible, or not deep enough for contemplative things. Some of you have decided that silence is for monks and mystics, for people with quieter houses and calmer minds than yours. That explanation is not just wrong, it is a decoy, and it has been protecting something for a long time. Here is what it protects. Somewhere along the way, you became afraid that if you ever got quiet enough to truly hear God, He would ask you for the one thing you cannot bear to give. The relationship you know is out of alignment. The comfort you have wrapped around your fear. The dream that would require you to be seen and to possibly fail in public. So, without ever deciding to, you arranged your entire inner life so that the asking could never quite be heard. You did not avoid silence because you are shallow. You avoided it because you believed, deep down, that the voice in the silence was a collector coming for your treasure. That is the mechanism. Fear of the asking, wearing the costume of busyness. But look at what that fear assumes, and watch it collapse under honest light. It assumes the Father speaks the way people spoke to you when you were small, demanding, extracting, taking the best, and leaving you poorer. Yet run back through every account you have ever trusted of God actually speaking to someone, in scripture or in the testimony of people you respect. The asking is always a door, never a robbery. He asked the fishermen for their nets and returned them a calling. What he asks for is always the smaller thing, and what he hands back is always the larger. So the years you spent dodging the quiet were not rebellion. They were a misunderstanding about the character of the voice. You were guarding your treasure from the only one in the universe who was trying to enlarge it. When you see that, truly see it, day 2 stops looking like an audit and starts looking like an inheritance reading. You do not brace yourself before an inheritance. You lean in, and that leaning is all July 5th requires. You do not need to become a mystic by Saturday. You need only to sit down as a person who is no longer afraid of what might be asked, because you finally understand who is asking. If the voice requests something, it is because the hands attached to that voice are already holding the replacement, and the replacement has always been better. Take a breath here. We have covered the first 2 days, the severing and the silence, and something in you is probably already sorting your weekend, assigning hours, feeling the shape of it. That sorting is good, but the window is not complete, and neither is the pattern, because a released and quieted soul with no commission is just a tidy room with nobody living in it. Day 3 is where the entire window either becomes a story you tell for years or a nice weekend you vaguely remember. Day 3, July 6th, the day of commissioning. By the morning of day 3, if you have honored the window, 2 things will be true. Your hands will be emptier than they have been in years, and your notebook will hold at least 1 line with unusual weight in it. Day 3 is the day that line becomes flesh. Not the whole vision, 1 step, taken physically in the real world before midnight on July 6th. And immediately, I know what rises in you because it is what rises in everyone at the edge of a commission. The step feels too small to matter or too big to survive. If the line in your notebook says, "Make the call," the mind says a phone call cannot possibly be the hinge of a destiny. If the line says, "Leave," or "Begin," or "Confess," the mind says you will be destroyed. Too small to matter, too big to survive. Notice that the mind argues both sides, because its actual client is neither truth nor safety. Its client is the status quo. Here is the symptom in its purest form. You have stood at the edge of first steps before, many times, and waited. Waited to feel ready. Waited for the fear to pass. Waited to see the second step and the 10th step before taking the first. You told yourself you were being wise, gathering information, praying about it, and the seasons rolled by, and the staircase never revealed itself, and you never moved. The common explanation says you lack courage. But watch the real mechanism, because it is more subtle and far more forgivable. The paralysis is not fear of the step, it is the demand to see the whole staircase before trusting the first stair, and that demand can never be met, not because God is withholding, but because a fully visible staircase would make faith unnecessary, and faith is the muscle this entire window exists to rebuild. The staircase reveals itself at the rate of your footsteps. It always has. You were not short on courage. You were waiting for a certainty that is not part of the deal. Now reread your own history through that lens. The opportunities that expired while you deliberated. The doors that closed politely after standing open for months. You were not a coward. You were applying the logic of sight to a life that runs on the logic of trust. Nobody taught you the difference. Today, somebody finally has. So here is the practice for July 6th, and it is deliberately, almost offensively simple. Before that evening, you will take the first step your day 2 line pointed to, sized down until it fits inside a single day. If the line said, "Write the book," the step is 1 page, written and dated. If it said, "Reconcile," the step is 1 message, sent. If it said, "Begin the work you were made for," the step is 1 concrete act a stranger could photograph. Visible, physical, small enough to finish, real enough to count. And when you take it, say 5 words as you do, out loud or under your breath. This is day 3, obedience. You are not solving your life. On July 6th, you are answering a roll call. Present, moving, yours. Let me show you why the sized down step carries so much power, because your mind will keep insisting it is trivial. In the old stories, the wonders almost never began with something enormous. A staff lifted over a sea, a handful of flour and oil, 5 small stones from a creek bed, a borrowed donkey. Heaven has a long and unbroken habit of hiding hinges inside gestures, precisely so that the proud walk past them and the humble swing whole doors on them. The size of the step is not the measure of the door. And there is a second reason, a practical one. A first step taken inside a consecrated window carries different momentum than the same step taken on a random Tuesday. Not because the calendar is magic, but because of everything the window built underneath it. This step lands on ground cleared by day 1 and aimed by day 2. The same act, minus the window, is a seed on pavement. Inside the window, it is a seed in turned soil. That is why the 3 days come in this order, and why skipping to the step without the severing and the silence produces the busy, fruitless motion you have seen in yourself before. Do not let day 3 close without the step. An open window with no crossing is the saddest object in the spiritual life. If the resolve is forming in you right now, seal it in writing, where retreat becomes harder. Type in the comments, "I will take the step." 5 words, dated the 3rd of July or whenever you find them. Standing as a witness you appointed over your own weekend. Now let me take you to the second of the old stories I promised, because it answers the question your skeptical mind has been holding politely all this time. Can a date on a calendar really divide anything? Can 72 specific hours actually matter more than the hours around them? Go back to the strangest night in the history of Israel, the night of the first Passover, an entire nation enslaved for 400 years, and deliverance was finally coming. But notice how it came. Not gradually. Not whenever each family happened to feel spiritually ready. It came on a night, a specific, announced, dated night. And the instructions were maddeningly practical. Prepare the lamb. Mark the doorframe. Eat with your sandals on and your staff in your hand, dressed for travel, ready to move. Ready to move. Hold that phrase. On the evening of that night, every house in Goshen looked roughly the same from the street. Same dusty walls, same lamplight. The division between them was invisible. It was not wealth or talent, or even virtue. It was readiness on a date. Some houses took the announced night seriously and stood there at midnight with their sandals on. Whatever the others were doing, history does not even bother to record it. And when the moment came, it came for everyone at the same hour. The wind of that night did not check resumes. It checked doorframes, preparation, made in advance, on the schedule that had been announced. That is the entire theology of a window, standing in one ancient story. The date was set by heaven, the readiness was set by each individual household, and eternity ran straight through the difference. I want you to feel how close that sits to your own weekend. The announcement has reached you. That is what this message is. You are, right now, a house in Goshen on the afternoon before, hearing the instruction, deciding whether marking the doorframe is worth interrupting an ordinary evening. And the quiet tragedy of every generation is that the instruction always sounds slightly ridiculous until midnight. So let me do for you what the instruction did for them. Let me show you the other side of the door, because you have been staring at the cost of obedience, and I want you to stare for a moment at the reward of it. Come forward with me to a morning in early autumn, some months from now. You wake before the alarm, and the first thing you notice is what is missing. The dread that used to sit on your chest like a stone before your eyes even opened, the low hum of a life running behind schedule, it is not there. You lie still for a moment, almost suspicious of the quiet. Then you remember. It has been like this for a while now. On the desk in the next room there is evidence. The thing you started on July 6th, one page, one call, one small photographable act, has grown rings around itself, like a tree. Not a miracle in the fireworks sense, something better. A living thing with momentum. People have started responding to it. One of them said the words, You had waited your whole life to hear from a stranger. This helped me. And the person you released on day one, the grudge you burned in a metal bowl while the neighborhood grilled its dinners, you passed their name in your mind last week and felt only a mild, clean nothing, like touching a scar that finally stopped aching. You did not become someone else. You became yourself, minus the payroll of postponement. And the difference is so large that people who love you have started asking, carefully, what changed? That version of you is not a fantasy I am spinning to warm your feelings. It is simply what tends to grow from 3 days honestly kept. The same way a harvest is not a miracle but a consequence. The gap between you and that autumn morning is not talent, is not luck, is not another decade of waiting. The gap is 1 weekend wide. It has always been narrower than the enemy of your soul kept telling you. Look at both pictures now, side by side. The house that stood ready at midnight and the autumn morning without the stone on your chest. They are the same picture, separated by 3,000 years. Dates divide houses. They always have. The only question this weekend asks is which side of the doorframe your house will be standing on when July 6th becomes July 7th. Now I want to pause and speak directly to 2 people who are still here but arguing with me, because I can hear you, and you deserve better than to be ignored. The first is the one whose arms have been folded since I named the dates. You are thinking, this is a calendar trick. God does not care about July 6th more than July 9th. Time is time, and attaching holiness to a weekend is superstition with better lighting. I want you to know that this objection comes from a healthy instinct, and I honor it. You have watched people be manipulated by manufactured urgency, and you swore you would never be one of them. So hear me carefully. You are right that God is not trapped in a calendar, but you are wrong about what a set-apart date is for, because it was never for him. It is for you. The Sabbath was not commanded because heaven gets tired. It was commanded because humans, left undated, defer everything forever. You know this from your own life. The dentist appointment gets kept. The someday intention does not. A date is not superstition. A date is mercy, shaped like a deadline, extended to a species that cannot act on some day. Heaven has always dated its invitations precisely because it knows how we are built. The second person I need to address is more tired than skeptical. You are thinking, I have done things like this before. I have fasted, prayed, journaled, released, declared. There have been other weekends. And on the far side of them, my life was still my life. Why should 3 more days succeed where the others did not? Friend, I will not insult you by pretending your history did not happen, but let me show you the difference you may not have seen. Every past attempt you are remembering was aimed at changing your behavior. More discipline, more prayer, more effort, stacked on top of an exhausted will. This window is not aimed at your behavior. Day 1 does not build anything, it removes. Day 2 does not perform, it receives. Day 3 asks for 1 step, not a new life. You have never actually tried this shape before. You tried harder versions of the same shape that was already failing. Removal, reception, and 1 obedient step is a different shape entirely. And there is something else underneath your fatigue, something we are minutes away from opening, that explains why all that sincere effort produced so little. It was never a defect in your wanting. There was a mechanism working against you the whole time, one that no amount of fasting could touch, because nobody knew where it lived. When you see it, your compassion for your own past attempts will double. Stay with me. If this message has been reading your life more accurately than things usually do something small for the people it has not reached yet. Press the like button beneath this message. Not for me, That small signal is how messages like this travel. And somewhere there is another soul with the same restlessness and the same weekend approaching, running out of days to stumble onto it. Now, everything we have talked about so far, the postponement, the flinching thumb, the avoided silence, the paralyzed first step, has been spiritual and psychological, and every word of it is true. But I told you near the beginning that there was another half to this story, a physical half. Something with an actual location sitting behind your forehead right now that has been quietly working against every noble intention you have had for decades. It is time to open that door, and I need to warn you, what is behind it made me genuinely angry the first time I understood it. Not at God, at what our way of life has done, invisibly, to nearly every adult you have ever met, including the one hearing my voice right now. Let me start with a study that should be famous in every household in America, and somehow almost nobody has heard of it. Decades ago, researchers set out to measure creative genius in children. Not cuteness, not imagination in the greeting card sense, but genius-level capacity for original thinking. The ability to see many solutions where others see one. To connect things nobody told them to connect. They tested small children, and the results were so strange the researchers hardly believed them. Nearly all of the children, close to every single one, scored at the genius level. Not the gifted kids, not the ones from wealthy homes with libraries. Nearly all of them. Original, flexible, world-bending minds turned out to be the factory setting of the human race. Then they followed those same capacities up through the years, testing older children, then adolescents, then adults. And the numbers did not decline gently, the way muscles weaken with age. They collapsed. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 people still tested at the level that had been nearly universal at 5 years old. Sit with that ratio for a second. Whatever you believe about talent, about being a creative person or not being a creative person, that study quietly demolishes it. You were not born average. Statistically speaking, almost nobody is. You were born with the full equipment, the same class of mind that composes and invents and founds and imagines. Something happened to it. Something happens to nearly everyone, so uniformly and so silently that we mistook the damage for normal adulthood. Now, what exactly happened has a physical description, and this is where a laboratory enters the story. In the middle of the last century, a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry began studying patients whose 2 brain halves had been surgically separated, and what he found rewrote our entire understanding of the mind. The work was considered so important that in 1981 it earned him the Nobel Prize, the highest honor science can bestow. What Dr. Sperry demonstrated is that you do not have one mind in your head. You have 2 distinct processing worlds. One half is the accountant, language, logic, lists, sequence, caution. The other is the artist, pattern, image, intuition, leaps, the sudden knowing that arrives whole without showing its math. And here was the revelation. Genius, in the functional sense, was never the property of either half. It lives in the traffic between them. The richer the conversation between the 2 worlds, the more the person can do that neither half could do alone. A child at play is running that conversation at full volume. Watch a 5-year-old build a story out of a cardboard box. Logic and image, structure and wildness pouring across the bridge in both directions thousands of times a minute. That torrential crosstalk is what those researchers were measuring. That is what genius level actually means. Not a gift, a connection. And connections, unlike gifts, can be starved. Think about what happens to that 5-year-old next. School arrives, and school, whatever its intentions, pays for one half of the mind and politely ignores the other. Right answers, straight lines, sit still, show your work. Then adolescence arrives with its merciless single question, what will everyone think? Which teaches the wild half to stay quiet in public. Then adulthood lands with bills and deadlines and survival. And survival mode is famously a one-hemisphere affair. Narrow, vigilant, literal, allergic to wonder. Year after year, the conversation between your two worlds got less traffic. Not because either half died, because the bridge between them was starved. Starved by a curriculum, then by fear, then by exhaustion. The accountant kept working because rent was due. The artist did not die. The artist got quiet, the way anyone gets quiet after being interrupted 10,000 times. Dimmed, not dead. Write that phrase somewhere in yourself. The capacity you were born with, the one that tested at genius level when you were small, did not leave the building. It sits on the other side of a starving bridge, still lit, waiting for traffic. And every strange symptom we have named tonight, the fog around important tasks, the ease of scrolling and the strain of creating, the sense of a self you can almost remember being, is what life feels like from the logical side of a starved bridge. Now connect this to everything we walked through earlier, because the pieces are about to snap together in a way I hope you never forget. Why does the scroll reflex win so easily? Because a feed asks only one narrow slice of your mind to show up, while prayer, creation, and courageous conversation require both worlds at once. When the bridge is starved, whole-minded activities feel like lifting furniture and half-minded activities feel like gliding. You did not lose your discipline. The activities that matter were quietly repriced, and nobody told you. Why does silence frighten a modern soul? Because in silence, the quiet half finally gets the floor, and after decades of interruption, its first words are a backlog. All that static you feel in the first minutes of stillness is deferred crosstalk, the two worlds reintroducing themselves. It is awkward the way any long estranged reunion is awkward. It was never a sign that listening is not for you. And why did every self-improvement attempt exhaust you? Because you kept commanding the accountant to do the work of the whole firm. Willpower, discipline, resolutions, all of it runs on the logical half, the very half that was already overworked. You were pushing a car with one wheel bolted on and blaming yourself for the smell of burning. Which brings us to the moment of this message that I ask you to hear standing at full attention inside, where posture actually happens. Because there is a name for what has been done to you and to me and to essentially every adult in this culture, and I do not use the name lightly. It is the great swindle of our lifetime. Quietly, without a single vote being cast or a single announcement being made, an entire civilization arranged itself in a way that starves the exact connection where human genius lives, and then sold every one of us the story that the resulting dimness was just who we are. Average, ordinary, not a creative, not called. The swindle was never that something was stolen. Swindles like that get discovered. The genius of this one is that the theft was renamed as your identity so that you would guard the empty vault yourself and call anyone who questioned it a dreamer. You have been guarding that vault. Every time you said, "I am just not the type," every time you shrank a holy ambition to fit the dimness, you stood watch over your own robbery. And heaven has been waiting, not for you to become something new, but to file a claim on what was always yours. Because listen to how the Father talks about stolen years. Through the prophet Joel, to a people whose harvests had been devoured season after season, he did not say, "Let us discuss what the locusts took, or perhaps some compensation can be arranged." He said, "I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten, restoration, announced as settled fact, not a request the people had to perfect, a claim heaven had already approved. Do you see what that changes about this weekend? You are not going into these 3 days to beg, you are going in to collect. The release of day 1, the silence of day 2, the step of day 3, these are not payments for restoration. They are the paperwork of a claim that was approved before you were old enough to know what was being taken. And here, for the second of 3 times in this message, I will step aside and let the words come from above my pay grade. If the Father were to speak over the swindle itself, over the dimmed decades and the guarded vault, I believe it would sound like this. My child, I watched what the years took, and I never once agreed to the taking. The mind I gave you at the beginning is the mind I still see when I look at you. They renamed my masterpiece average, but I do not use that word for anything I have made. Bring me the stolen years. I have been holding their replacement all along. If something just stood up inside your chest, that is the correct response to a promise like that. Answer it in writing. Type in the comments, I claim my restoration. 4 words, not a wish, a claim. There is a difference, and this whole weekend lives inside that difference. And now I owe you the loop I opened in the first minutes of this message. I told you the restlessness was half the story, and that the other half was physical, found in a laboratory, honored with the highest prize in science. You now know what it is. The starved bridge between your 2 inner worlds is not a metaphor, it is anatomy. The fog you feel when you approach what matters is what a starving connection feels like from the inside, which means the stakes of this window are higher and more concrete than even the old stories made them sound. When I said ignoring these 3 days would cost you, I was not speaking in vague spiritual arithmetic. A consecration window is precisely the kind of sustained, whole-souled attention that begins to feed the starved connection again. Scroll past it, and the bridge stays on rations for another year. That is the cost. Not lightning, rations. But before I show you what can be done about the bridge itself, there is one more person I have to speak with, and I suspect it may be the realist version of you, the one under all the others, because somewhere in the last hour, a quiet voice in you has been saying something like this. All of this is beautiful, but you do not understand. I have already missed my windows. There were dates heaven set for me before, and I slept through them. Whatever was scheduled for my life has surely been reassigned by now. I want to take that voice seriously, because it is carrying the heaviest cargo in this entire message. The belief that you are disqualified by your own history of ignoring, that the invitation expired the 3rd time you declined it, that a person who has scrolled past as many holy moments as you have does not get a fresh window with their name on it. Here is the symptom of that belief, in case you doubt it is running your life. When hope shows up, you flinch. A message like this one starts to land, and something in you steps in front of it like a bodyguard, saying, "Do not get excited. Remember what happened last time." You call that realism. You call it protecting yourself from disappointment. You have gotten so good at deflecting hope that it now bounces off you before you even notice it arrived. The common explanation says you are just being mature, managing expectations like a responsible adult. But watch what is actually underneath. Somewhere along the line, you convicted yourself in a courtroom where you were judge, prosecutor, and the only witness called. The verdict was, too late for you. And every window since then, you have not actually missed. You have declined, in advance, to avoid hearing the verdict again. The missed windows of your past did not disqualify you. Your sentence for them did. So, let me bring in the last of the 3 old stories, because it exists for exactly this courtroom. The city of Nineveh was given a dated window, and it was not a gentle one. 40 days, said the prophet, and this city falls. Understand who these people were. Not saints who had missed a quiet time or two. This was a city so violent and so far gone that the prophet himself did not want them saved. If disqualification by history were a real doctrine, Nineveh was its proof case. And yet, look at what the record shows. They took the dated window seriously. From the king down to the poorest laborer, they stopped, they turned, they humbled themselves inside the time they had been given. And the disaster that had been announced with a literal deadline did not come. Heaven saw a city respond inside its window and rewrote the ending. The date had been set in stone, and mercy read the stone and overruled it. Now reason with me, gently. If a window like that could be honored by a city like that, what exactly do you imagine your quiet history of scrolled past evenings has done to your standing? The record could not be clearer about the character of the one who sets these dates. He is not looking for a reason to close your window. He is looking with an eagerness the old book describes as running for any excuse to keep it open. You have not missed your life. You have missed appointments, and the difference is everything, because the one who schedules appointments is the same one who reschedules them. This weekend in front of you is proof, sitting on your calendar, that the courtroom verdict was overturned on appeal. The only remaining question is whether you will show up to your own retrial. If that voice in you has been sentencing you for years, answer it tonight in 5 words. Type in the comments, "My window is still open." Say it to the judge, the prosecutor, and the witness, all of whom live behind your own ribs. Somebody else scrolling in the dark at 2 in the morning is going to read your 5 words and put down the gavel they have been holding against themselves for a decade. Before we go to the final door of this message, let the last few minutes settle into your body, because truth that stays in the head evaporates by morning. Wherever you are right now, driving, lying in the dark, folding laundry, just notice 3 things without changing any of them. Notice the points where your body is being held up, the seat, the mattress, the floor. Notice the temperature of the air moving in through your nose. And notice the place in your chest where that tightness has lived all week. Is it exactly the same as it was an hour ago? For most of you, it has shifted even slightly, loosened at the edges. That shift is not my doing. That is what happens in a body when a burden begins to be correctly named. Remember this feeling. It is the sample of what the full window can do. Now let me be a plain accountant with you for a moment, because holy things deserve honest math. Here is what this entire consecration window actually costs you in time. 20 minutes on July 4th with 2 pieces of paper. 3 sittings of 10 minutes on July 5th. 1 small step on July 6th that might take an hour at most. Add it all together, and the most important weekend of your year costs less than 2 hours, spread across 3 days that will contain 72 of them. Set that against the other column. The postponement tax, compounding daily on every deferred thing you carry, has been charging you for years, and you have already done the feeling version of that math tonight. 2 hours of presence against another year of installments. There is no version of honest accounting in which the window is the expensive option. Ignoring it is the expensive option. It always was. The title of this message was never a threat. It was a receipt written in advance. And I want to free you from a worry that some of you have been carrying since I first named the dates. You may have plans this weekend. Family arriving, a cookout, children who want the sparklers and the pool. Hear me clearly. None of that disqualifies you, and you do not need to cancel a single hamburger. Consecration is not about emptying the weekend. It is about placing 3 small set-apart rooms inside it. The camp at the Jordan still cooked dinner on their consecration evening. Presence, not absence, was always the requirement. In fact, I suspect some of you have already started doing something quietly beautiful. Somewhere in the last half hour, without telling anyone, you began scanning your weekend for the openings. The early morning before the guests wake. The quiet hour after the fireworks when everyone else is asleep and you are strangely alert. You have already been assigning the rooms. That is not planning. That is the consecration already beginning, a full day ahead of schedule. So the window is affordable. It fits inside your real life, and your claim has already been approved. Which brings us to the question that has been standing patiently at the back of this entire message, and it is time to let it speak. If you now understand the window, and you understand the tax, and you understand the starved bridge and the swindle and the claim, why is it still possible, even likely, that a person could hear every word of this and let the weekend slip anyway? Why does understanding, even deep understanding, so often fail to become movement? You have felt this in yourself before. The insight lands on Sunday and is gone by Thursday. Knowing has never been your problem. Something between knowing and doing keeps failing, and that something is not in your mind at all. It is somewhere you have not looked yet, and it is the last thing I will open before I speak over your life. First, let me tell you what I do not know, because you have trusted me this far, and I refuse to spend that trust cheaply. I do not know what God will do in your life on July 4th, 5th, and 6th. I cannot promise you a feeling, a sign, or a breakthrough with a timestamp on it. Anyone who promises you that is decorating their guess. What I know is the pattern. I have watched what dated consecration does to postponed lives too many times to call it coincidence. The wonders are his department. The window is yours. Now, the gap between knowing and doing. Here is why insight keeps evaporating on you, in the plainest English I can manage. The why. Everything valuable this weekend asks of you: sustained attention, honest release, deep listening, one brave step, runs on the connection between the two halves of your mind. That connection has been starved for decades by schooling, stress, and survival. This is not a character issue, it is a capacity issue, and no one ever told you. Understand what that means. Asking a starved connection to carry a whole consecration weekend is asking a dimmed lamp to light a cathedral. It can begin the work, and the window will genuinely feed it. But beginnings are fragile, and fragile beginnings are exactly where your past attempts have always broken down. The what. What actually changes lives is the pairing of two things: a set-apart window that reorders your attention, which you now have, and a direct, repeatable way to feed the starved connection itself, so that the change the window starts does not unravel the following week. The 3 days open the door. Something has to keep the door from swinging shut on the 8th of July, and it cannot be willpower, because willpower is the very resource the starvation limits. The who. This pairing is not for everyone, and honesty requires me to say so. It is for the person who has felt dimmed for years and refused to accept dimness as identity. The person who recognized themselves in the restlessness, the scroll, the postponed list. The person who has read this far into a message about consecration on the busiest holiday weekend of the year. In other words, it is for exactly the sort of person who is hearing this sentence right now. You now know the mechanism, the window, and the stakes. That clarity is real, but clarity alone has never crossed a river. What you do inside the next 3 days decides whether this hour became a turning point or a memory. So let me tell you about a doctor in New York City, because his work is the missing half of your day too. His name is Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist practicing in New York. A man who spends his days with patients whose minds are not doing what those patients need them to do. He is not an influencer or a guru. He is the kind of physician who reads the studies on the weekend, and answers messages from worried patients at night. And over the years, one kind of patient began to trouble him more than any other. And it was not the dramatic cases. It was the dimmed ones. They came in describing the very things you and I have spent this hour naming. Fog that no lab test explained. Sharp, capable people who could no longer hold a thread of thought through a single quiet room. People who said, in almost the same words every time, "I feel like there is a better mind inside me, and I have lost the key to the room it lives in." The scans were clean, the blood work was fine, and they kept coming, more of them every year, a waiting room full of guarded vaults. What could he offer them? Advice about sleep, yes. Stress, screens, all the usual counsel. But he knew the research history well enough to know what was actually going on. He knew the work of Dr. Roger Sperry, the split mind discoveries, the Nobel Prize, the truth that the capacities his patients mourned lived in the traffic between the two hemispheres. His patients did not have broken halves, they had starving bridges. And modern medicine, for all its brilliance, had no prescription for a bridge, which was fitting, because a bridge does not need a prescription, it needs traffic. So he went looking for a way to generate that traffic directly. Not therapy that talks about the bridge, not effort that exhausts the strong half further. Something that could invite both hemispheres into synchronized work at the same time, the way childhood play once did, and do it reliably, in an ordinary home, in a handful of minutes. He and the team he works with spent years on the problem, testing, discarding, refining, until the clinical process that once required an hour in a controlled setting had been distilled into something astonishingly small. They called it the Genius Switch, an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence built on what the team calls neural sync technology, designed to do one thing with total focus, guide both halves of your mind into working together again, what the research world calls whole brain activation. You put on headphones, you close your eyes, you listen for 8 minutes, once a day. That is the entire protocol. It works beneath your effort, not on top of it, which means you do not have to perform, concentrate, or be good at it. And if you miss a day, nothing is lost. You simply return the next day, like traffic resuming on a reopened bridge. Notice how precisely this fits the shape of your weekend. Day 2 of your window, July 5th, is the listening day. 3 sittings of 10 minutes with the phone in another room. An 8-minute sequence in headphones with closed eyes is practically the same posture, the same stillness, the same open receiver. The tool does not replace your silence, it furnishes it. The window and the sequence were made from the same blueprint, presence held still long enough for something to be restored. Let me tell you what happened when ordinary people started using it, because theories are cheap and lives are not. There is a nurse from Southern California whose words I have never forgotten. She said her life had stopped being something she lived and become something that happened to her. Fog in the morning, hopelessness by evening. She had tried meditation, listening programs, all of it, and nothing clicked. About 10 days into the 8-minute sequence, she said something cleared, as if a channel that had been blocked for years was suddenly open. The invisible stress dissolved first. Then, slowly, to her astonishment, her marriage began to warm again, because the woman her husband had missed was coming back to the table. And there is a business owner in Texas, a father of 2, who described carrying his whole company on what he called a partially working mind. Praying, he said, had felt like talking into a wall. A few weeks in, the fog he had stopped even noticing, that is how constant it had become, was simply gone. His own words were that his mind was firing on all its engines again for the first time since childhood. That is what it sounds like when the traffic comes back to the bridge. Stories like these are why more than 18,400 everyday Americans have now walked this road. Nurses and truck drivers and teachers and grandmothers, people who will never meet each other and who describe the same lifting in strangely similar words. Not celebrities, not people with something to sell, the exact population that the great swindle robbed first and hardest. Now, I need to say something with complete honesty, the same honesty I have tried to keep all through this message. This is not for everyone. If your life feels fully lit, if focus is easy and your calling is already in motion, you likely do not need it, and I am genuinely glad for you. The Genius Switch was built for a different person. It was built for the one who has been listening to this entire message with a lump in their throat. The one who tested at genius level at 5 years old and has been living on rations ever since. The one standing at the edge of a consecrated weekend, wanting day 2 to actually work this time. If that is you, then what follows is for you, and practically no one else. Here is the part where I expected to wince, and instead I was stunned. When the work was finished, colleagues around Dr. Barone looked at what had gone into it. The years of development, the fact that comparable clinical time runs hundreds of dollars per session, and told him plainly that $500 would be a fair and honest price. Machines that attempt far less sell for thousands. Nobody would have blinked. He refused. His reasoning was simple and, frankly, moving. The people who need this most are the very people the dimness has been taxing for decades. They are tired, stretched, and careful with every dollar. And a locked door with a high price on it would be one more swindle on top of the first one. So, the official price was set at $49, not $500. $49. And then it went one step further. For those who arrived through the official page, the one linked in the description and pinned comment below, there is an additional $10 taken off. Today, the entire thing, the full 8-minute sequence with lifetime access, is $39. Less than a family spends on fireworks that are gone in an hour, for something aimed at getting back what 4 decades quietly took. They also refuse to send it out alone. 4 companions come with it, free. A guided visualization from one of the most loved creators on a major calm and rest app, walking your newly wakened mind through the 4 rooms of a restored life: money, love, health, and joy. A smart grocery guide naming the 10 common American foods that thicken mental fog, with shortcuts that can save a family more than $100 a month at the stores you already shop in. A classic book on abundance more than a century old, the quiet root under most of what is taught about faith and prosperity today. And a beautifully designed guide to the 5 daily habits that protect a clear mind, made to be printed and hung where you will see it. And over all of it stands a promise that removes the last of the risk. A 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Any reason. No time pressure, no interrogation, no counting how many times you listened. If it does not do for you what I have described, every dollar returns to you, and you keep the dignity of having tried. The only person carrying risk in this arrangement is the doctor who signed his name to it, and he built it that way on purpose. One caution, and I say it because I care about where your $39 actually goes. The price is not a countdown gimmick. There is no fake clock running. But I can tell you honestly that it has not always stayed this low, and there is no promise it will. If the page says $39 when you visit, that is the window being kind to you. I would not gamble on it being kind indefinitely. And please hear this clearly. There are recordings floating around on music services and elsewhere wearing similar names: genius sounds, brain awakening tracks, costumes over empty audio. The team studied many of them and found nothing of the actual technology inside. The real sequence exists in exactly one place, the official page, and the only door I can vouch for is the link sitting in the description and in the pinned comment under this message. Not on any marketplace. Not on any music app. One door. I am not going to push you through it. That is not my role in your life, and pressure is the language of the swindle, not the window. I will only say this. If, somewhere in the last several minutes, your spirit began leaning, that quiet forward tilt you felt when the nurse said the channel opened, then trust the leaning. You have spent years overruling that tilt in the name of caution, and the postponement tax on overruled leanings is the very thing we counted tonight. The link is below. The window is this weekend. You are allowed to let one small yes cost you $39.08 a day. Before your practical mind files its last 3 objections, let me answer them out loud, because they are fair and they deserve daylight. You may be thinking, I have tried things before, sound programs, meditations, and nothing moved. I understand, and so does the research. Most of what you tried was aimed at relaxing you, or at one half of your mind at a time. This is a different category with a different target. The connection itself, the bridge, and that distinction is the whole reason it was built. You did not fail those programs. They were aiming at the wrong address. You may be thinking, $39 is real money in my house. It is, and I will not pretend otherwise. But run the honest ledger one more time. A single hour of clinical work in this field costs several $100s. The machines cost thousands. And doing nothing costs the most of all, another year of the tax. And you have already priced that tonight in something far more expensive than dollars. With the guarantee standing behind it, this is not really a purchase. It is a deposit you can recall at any moment on a claim you have every right to file. And you may be thinking, my life is full, I do not have room for one more practice. Chosen one, it is 8 minutes, with your eyes closed, doing nothing. You have 8 minutes while the coffee brews. You have 8 minutes in the parked car before you walk into work. If 8 minutes truly cannot be found, then the schedule is not the problem, and you already know what is, because we named it together an hour ago. The reflex guards the door. This is you, walking past the guard. One last word on trust, and then we leave the practical world behind and finish what we came here to do. In an arena crowded with anonymous audio and borrowed science, a practicing New York physician put his real name, his reputation, and his license to be believed on this one thing. Dr. Barone did not have to do that. Men in his position usually keep their names far from anything the internet might argue about. He signed anyway, because he had watched too many dimmed people accept dimness as a diagnosis. When a man signs his name where he could have stayed safe, I pay attention. I think you do too. So, that is the whole of it. The window opens tomorrow, or has perhaps already opened as you hear this. The tool is there if you want day 2 to have a furnace in it. The door is in the description and the pinned comment. And now, put the practical entirely out of your mind, because the most important part of this entire message, the part I have been saving, the part I told you about an hour ago, is finally here. Let me tell you about a woman whose story reached me some time ago, because everything this message has taught arrives best inside a life, and hers holds the whole pattern. She was in her 40s, somewhere in the middle of the country, and the hard year came for her family the way hard years come, all at once. Her husband lost the job he had held for 16 years, 4 months before the youngest started school. The savings went first, then the buffer on the cards, and then the letters from the bank began arriving in envelopes designed to look calm. She described lying awake, doing arithmetic that never balanced, while a voice in her head recited one sentence on a loop. You are watching everything end. She was a woman of faith, technically, church on most Sundays, a Bible somewhere in the house. But her prayers that season, she said, were like flares fired over a battlefield, bright, desperate, and aimed at nothing in particular. Then one Tuesday, standing in the kitchen with an unpayable bill in her hand, she felt something she could not explain. Not a voice, a pull. The strong, absurd sense that she was not supposed to do more. She was supposed to stop. So she did the strangest thing a person in her situation could do. She took an ordinary weekend nobody had blessed or announced and set it apart. She told the family she would be mostly quiet for 3 days. On the first evening, she wrote down everything she was carrying that was not hers to carry, including 11 years of resentment toward a sister who had wronged her badly and publicly. She read the list out loud, alone, wept through the middle of it, and burned it on the grill on the back porch. The second day, she kept silence in the margins of family life. No news, no feeds, no noise while driving. She sat 3 separate times in the parked car in the garage, because it was the only quiet room she had, and asked one question: what is the first step? On the third sitting, one word rose and would not leave. It was the name of her sister. And on the third day, with her stomach in knots, she performed the smallest, most photographable act imaginable. She sent a 4-line message to a woman she had not spoken to in 11 years. No accusations, no rehearsal of the history. Just, "I have carried this too long. I am putting it down. I hope your family is well." She pressed send and sat in the car and shook. Here is where the story turns, and I want you to notice what kind of turn it is, because it is not a lottery ticket. Her sister replied within the hour, in tears. They spoke that night for the first time in over a decade, and it emerged in the middle of that conversation that the company her sister worked for had spent months searching for someone with precisely the credentials this woman had quietly held her entire adult life. 3 weeks later, she was employed, at a salary that ended the arithmetic that never balanced. The letters from the bank stopped coming. Now be careful with this story, because there are 2 wrong ways to hold it. The first wrong way is to treat it as a formula. Forgive your sister, receive a salary. Heaven is not a vending machine, and I promised you no time-stamped outcomes. The second wrong way is to dismiss it as coincidence, because you and I both know better by now. The job did not come from the message. The job came through a door that 11 years of carried resentment had quietly nailed shut. Her release did not earn the turnaround. It unblocked the corridor the turnaround had been standing in, possibly for years, waiting for the way to clear. That is what I want you to expect from your own window, not fireworks on command. Unblocked corridors. The strange turnarounds of a released life tend to come sideways, through reopened doors and unclenched hands, wearing the disguise of ordinary events. And only in hindsight do you see the fingerprints all over them. And notice one more thing about her, the thing I most need you to carry into this weekend. Nothing about her 3 days was impressive. A grill, a parked car, a 4-line message. No retreat center, no conference, no soundtrack. Just an ordinary woman who took a window seriously in the middle of a collapsing season. The power was never in the production values. It was in the QADASH, the setting apart, the assignment of ordinary hours to a holy purpose. Her kitchen was Goshen. Her garage was the Jordan. Yours will be too. If her story loosens something in you, mark it before it tightens again. Type in the comments. The window found me, 4 words, and entirely true, because you did not go looking for this message today. It arrived the way announcements always arrive, right before the dates they announce. Now, because I promised your hands a map and not just your heart a feeling, let me gather everything this message has taught into a small toolkit you can carry past the weekend. 4 practices, each tied to something we uncovered together. The window is 3 days, but the life the window opens is maintained in minutes. The first practice is the doorframe minute. Every morning, before your feet find the floor, and long before your thumb finds the phone, sit on the edge of the bed for 60 seconds and say, "What crosses with me today?" Then name one thing, just one, that gets your best attention that day. The Passover houses marked their doorframes once. You will mark yours daily. It is the cheapest consecration in existence, and it reassigns the day before the world gets a vote. The second practice is the flinch watch. Whenever you catch the hand drifting toward the feed, say the words, "There goes the flinch," and make one deliberate choice. Follow it or lower it, but choose. You are not trying to win every round. You are keeping the reflex named, and a named reflex loses a little authority every single day. Within a month, you will be the one deciding where your attention spends its evenings, and that single recovered power compounds like interest. The third practice is the evening audit. Each night, one question asked with a pen in hand. What did I move to later today? Most nights there will be something, a call, a page, an apology, a prayer. Do not scold yourself for it. Just give it a date, tomorrow, Saturday, the 1st of the month, and feel what happens in your chest when you do. The tax stops accruing the moment the payment is scheduled. You learned that tonight. The audit is how you keep it learned, one honest minute at a time. And the fourth practice is the receiver, the daughter of day 2. 10 minutes of silence, once a day, phone in another room, one question on the table. What is the first step? You will not hear thunder most days. You are not listening for thunder. You are keeping the line open in the inbound direction, and homes with open lines receive calls that closed lines never know they missed. Of the 4, this is the practice that turns a consecrated weekend into a consecrated life. The doorframe minute, the flinch watch, the evening audit, the receiver. None of them takes longer than brewing coffee, and together they are the maintenance plan for everything July 4th, 5th, and 6th will begin. Write them inside the cover of whatever notebook survives day 2. Before we go further, there is something I want you to do, and I want you to do it now rather than later, because later, as we established tonight, is a direction and not a place. As you listen to this message, a face has probably drifted through your mind, someone you love who is dimmed and does not know why, someone paying the tax in plain sight, calling themselves lazy, calling themselves too late, guarding the empty vault. You know exactly who it is. You thought of them during the science. You may have thought of them during the story of the sisters. Send this message to that person. Do not send it with a sermon attached. Send it with one line, something like, "This found me, and it sounded like you." That is all. You have no idea what a dated window can do for a person who receives it 2 days before the date, because you are only just discovering what it is doing for you. The woman in that kitchen needed nothing but a pull taken seriously. Your person may need exactly one forwarded message. Be the announcement in the Goshen of somebody else. And understand what you are actually doing when you share it. You are doing for another soul what the beginning of this message did for you, connecting a restlessness they already feel to a window they do not yet see. The restlessness is already in them. I promise you it is. This holiday weekend presses on every dimmed chest in the country, all that noise and celebration, and underneath it, a quiet ache whispering, there was supposed to be more than this. You are simply delivering the other half of a sentence their soul already started. We are entering the last stretch of this message now, and I want to tell you what is still ahead, because it matters more than anything you have heard so far. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life. Not advice, not teaching, something older than both. The kind of words that are meant to be received with the hands open. And immediately after that, I will finally give you the name I promised in the very first minutes, the name heaven keeps for the one who does not scroll past. Everything until now has been preparation for those 2 moments. But first, come with me a little further into the future than we went before. Earlier, I showed you an autumn morning, a few months out. Now, I want to show you the same window from a full year away, because a year is how long it takes to see what a weekend was actually worth. It is early July again, 1 year from now. The same holiday, the same smell of smoke and cut grass, the same fireworks stacking their echoes against the sky. You are standing in a backyard, maybe yours, maybe belonging to someone you love, and someone across the lawn is telling a story, and you realize with a small shock that the story is about you, about how you changed last summer. They do not have the vocabulary for what happened, so they are using clumsy words like calmer and focused and different, and you are smiling into your cup because you know the real word, QADASH, reassigned. The thing you started on July 6th has a year of rings around it now. Some of what you heard in the silence of July 5th has come true in ways you could not have engineered, sideways, through reopened doors, exactly as promised. And the person you released on July 4th crosses your mind while the sky flashes, and you feel nothing but a settled kindness, the scar with no ache in it. Standing there, you will try to remember what the old dread felt like, the stone on the chest, the arithmetic at 2 in the morning, and you will find, strangely, that you cannot fully summon it. That is how healed years work. They do not just change the future, they make the old weight hard to even remember carrying. And then, in the middle of that backyard, a thought will cross your mind that has crossed the mind of everyone who ever honored a window. What if I had scrolled past? You will think of the evening you almost did not listen to this message all the way through, the night before the window, when your thumb hovered and something said, stay. A whole year hinged on that hover. The person telling the story across the lawn would be describing someone else entirely, or describing no one, because there would be nothing to describe. That is the version of the cost I most want you to carry out of this hour. Not fear of catastrophe. The quiet, sober knowledge that futures are decided in hovers, in windows, in 3-day weekends that a distracted world never even notices. The gap between the 2 versions of next July is not talent or luck. It is one consecrated weekend wide, and you are standing on the deciding side of it right now. You may be feeling something specific at this moment, a kind of trembling seriousness, the feeling of a person who realizes the exam is real and the date is close and they are, for once, ready. Do not let anyone talk you down from that seriousness, and do not let the part of you that mocks holy things reach the microphone tonight. What you are feeling is what the camp at the Jordan felt on the last evening, what Goshen felt at dusk with the lamb prepared. It has a long lineage, that trembling. Every person who ever crossed anything felt it the night before. So before we cross into the most tender part of this message, make one more mark in the record. Type in the comments, I am not scrolling past. 5 words, written by the hand that almost did. Of every phrase you have written tonight, that one may be the most literal, and a year from now, in a backyard under a flashing sky, you may remember exactly where you were when you typed it. Now, I need you to do something with me that has nothing to do with information, because we have reached the part of this message that cannot be learned, only experienced. If you can, let your body be still. If you are driving, keep your eyes where they belong, and let the words do the work. Everyone else, let the shoulders drop. Unclench the jaw you did not know was clenched. And take one slow breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth, before we walk into this room together. There is a hallway in you. Every person alive has one. It is the corridor where the old versions of yourself still stand, each one frozen at the moment of a window that was missed. And tonight, before your new window opens, you are going to walk down that hallway, not to be accused, but to do something that has needed doing for years. Go slowly. The first figure you meet is recent. It is you from a year or two ago, the one who felt a pull towards something during a hard January and let a busy week talk them out of it. Look at that face. You have hated that version of you, quietly, the way we hate our own missed chances. But look closer now. With everything you learned tonight, that person was not lazy. That person was paying a tax nobody had named, flinching with a reflex nobody had shown them, listening for a voice through a starved connection nobody had explained. They were doing their best inside a mechanism they could not see. Say to that version of you what you have needed someone to say to you. It was not your fault that no one showed you. Watch what happens to that face when you say it, and walk on. Further down the hallway, the figures get younger. There is the you of 10 years ago, standing at the edge of a decision that still aches when the weather of memory changes. There is the young adult who folded a dream into a drawer because the people around them called it unrealistic, and the drawer became a coffin so slowly that no funeral was ever held. Stop at each one. Do not rush this. Say it every time. It was not your fault that no one showed you. You were carrying what I am only now learning to put down. And at the very end of the hallway, in the last doorway, there is a child. You know which child. 5 years old, maybe 6, back when the tests would have said genius and the cardboard box was a spaceship, and the two worlds inside that small head poured across the bridge like a river in flood. That child has been waiting at the end of this hallway your entire adult life, not to blame you, but to ask the only question children ask. Are we going to play again? Chosen one, whatever is happening in your chest right now, let it happen. Do not manage it. The lump in the throat, the sting behind the eyes, that is not weakness. That is the frozen versions of you beginning to thaw, all of them at once, because someone finally walked the hallway with a lantern instead of a gavel. Now, kneel down in that inner room and answer the child. Tell them, yes. Tell them the window opens tomorrow. Tell them that the 4th of July will burn away what buried them, that the 5th will be quiet enough to hear them again, and that on the 6th, the first step you take will be taken with their hand in yours. This weekend was never only for the adult reading bank letters. It was for every figure in that hallway, and most of all for the small one at the end of it. And here, for the third and final time in this message, I will step aside, because what needs saying next is not mine to say. If the Father were to stand in that hallway with you, looking down its whole length, at every frozen year and every missed window, and the child at the end, I believe he would say this: "My child, I was in the hallway the whole time. I saw every window you missed, and I never once left the room in anger. I kept the child safe. I kept the gift lit. I scheduled this weekend before you knew you would need it, because I do not abandon what I set apart. You were never too late. You were being waited for." Stay in the quiet of those words for a moment. Do not hurry away from them. You were never too late. You were being waited for. Some of you have needed that sentence for 30 years, and it finally found you 2 days before a window with your name on it. That is not an accident of timing. Nothing about tonight has been an accident of timing. Feel what is different in your body now compared to when this message began. The tightness between chest and throat, the one that has been delivering its unread message all week, has likely changed its shape. Not because I said anything magical, but because you finally stopped and read the mail. That is all most inner weight ever wanted, to be received. The rest of its work, the 3 days will do. And I want you to notice something about the hallway we just walked, because it teaches the last lesson before the practical end of this message. Every figure in that hallway was created by a window that closed unattended. That is what a missed window becomes, not a punishment, but a frozen version of you standing in a corridor, waiting for mercy to circle back. This weekend, mercy has circled back, all the way back. The hallway empties on the far side of July 6th, if you keep the days. Which is why I will say the hard sentence one final time, gently, the way a doctor repeats the one instruction that matters. Do not let this window close unattended. Whatever else this holiday weekend takes from you, the traffic, the noise, the obligations, do not let it take the 20 minutes, the 3 sittings, and the 1 step. Those small hours are carrying passengers. You met them in the hallway. 1 quiet word, while we are speaking of the sittings of day 2, if, as July 5th approaches, you feel drawn to bring the 8-minute companion into that silence with you, the one the New York doctor built for starving bridges, follow the leaning. The door remains where it has been all along, in the description and the pinned comment. And if you go into the quiet with nothing but a chair and a question, the window will still meet you there. The tool serves the consecration. It was never the other way around. Now there is one more gift I want to place in your hands before the closing words, and in some ways it is the most practical thing in this entire message. The feelings you have right now, the softness, the resolve, the trembling seriousness, feelings evaporate. By Saturday afternoon, with relatives in the kitchen and the reflex whispering, you will need something sturdier than a memory of being moved. You will need an anchor your body can find without your mind having to rebuild this whole evening. Let me give you one. Here is what I want you to do. If you can, sit somewhere you will not be interrupted for the next few minutes. Let your spine be tall but not rigid, the posture of someone receiving an appointment rather than bracing for a blow. Rest one hand flat against the center of your chest, over the sternum, and let your breathing slow on its own. There is no performance here. There is nothing to get right. Now, with your hand resting there, I want you to picture something just behind it, in the warm dark at the center of your chest. A window. A small, old-fashioned window, the kind with a simple latch, set into a wall that has stood for a long time. For years you have assumed this window was locked, painted shut, sealed by everything the decades did. Look at it now, closely, the way you would inspect it with a lantern raised. The latch is not locked. It was never locked. It is simply stiff. From all the seasons, nobody tried it. See your own hand reach for the latch. Feel the first resistance, the crust of the years, the stiffness of the swindle, and then feel it give, not dramatically. A quarter turn, a soft click, the sound of something remembering its purpose, and through the opening seam, light. Not flooding, not blinding, arriving. The way dawn arrives, without force, taking back the room inch by inch, simply because the window is no longer arguing with it. And as that light settles into your chest, hear the reframe your whole history has been waiting for. The window was never locked. You were never disqualified, never passed over, never sealed shut. Stiff, yes. Neglected, yes. Guarded by a tired watchman who thought he was protecting you, yes. But locked, never. Everything that looked like a locked life was only an unpracticed latch, and a latch is not a fate. A latch is a movement, and you just made it. Now anchor this so your body can find it again, without ceremony. Press the hand you have been resting on your chest, just slightly firmer, for 3 slow breaths, and as you press, say quietly, inside or aloud, the window is open. That press and that phrase now belong together in your nervous system. This weekend, when the noise rises, when the reflex whispers, when a relative says the thing they always say, you will not need to rebuild this entire evening. You will need 4 seconds. Hand to sternum. 1 press. The window is open. And the whole architecture of tonight will stand up inside you at command, like a house with its lights coming on floor by floor. Use it on the morning of July 4th before the 2 papers. Use it in the parked car on July 5th before the question. Use it on July 6th with your finger over the send button or your hand on the door handle in the trembling second before the step. That anchor is not a trick of the mind. It is the doorframe minute of the body, a mark your own hand can reach in any weather. The ancient houses marked their frames with what the Lamb had given. You mark yours with what this evening gave. And now the map for the days themselves, spoken plainly and slowly, so that when the weekend arrives, some part of you will hear my voice underneath the noise, keeping count with you. Now, before the day-by-day map, I have to build one more version of this window, and I build it for a specific listener. You heard the practices, the 20 minutes, the 3 sittings, the step, and even those humble numbers made something in you panic. Because you are the one everyone leans on. The single mother working the holiday shift. The caretaker whose patient does not take weekends off. The one hosting 14 relatives with a smile stretched over an exhausted face. You have been subtracting yourself from every equation for years, and you were already doing the math of subtraction on this one. So here is the smallest keepable window, and I want you to hear me say it without a trace of disappointment, because heaven measures windows by heart and not by square footage. If 20 minutes is impossible on July 4th, then 5, 1 paper instead of 2, 3 lines instead of 30, torn over the kitchen trash while the potatoes boil. The releasing counts. The old stories are unanimous that heaven can see a whole intention inside a small gesture. The 2 small coins that outweighed the rich, the cup of water that counted as ministry. If 3 sittings are impossible on July 5th, then 1, and if 10 minutes is fantasy, then 5. In the bathroom, if that is the only door in your house that locks. One question, what is the first step? Asked once into a silence the length of a song. The God who spoke worlds into being does not require a cathedral acoustic. He has been fitting eternity into mangers and closets and parked cars since the beginning. He can fit day 2 into your 5 minutes. And if the step of July 6th must be tiny to survive your schedule, then let it be tiny and let it be real. 1 sentence spoken to 1 person, 1 email drafted and sent before the guests wake. 30 seconds of courage fits inside any day ever lived, including yours. A keeper with a small window is still a keeper, and some of the largest doors in history swung on hinges nobody could see. But I will add the harder word too, gently, because love without honesty is just flattery. Some of you are not actually out of time. You are out of permission. There are hours in your weekend, but they are all assigned to other people, because somewhere along the way you decided that your own soul goes last or goes without. And a message about consecration cannot fix that in one night. But it can say this: the window is heaven asking you, personally, by date, to move yourself up the list. Not to the top, just onto it. 3 small rooms in 72 hours, claimed by the 1 person in your house who never claims anything. Watch what that claiming does, quite apart from the practices themselves. The people you serve learn how to treat your soul by watching how you treat it. When you take 5 quiet minutes and defend them kindly, without drama, something recalibrates in the whole household, slowly, the way a thermostat recalibrates a house. You are not stealing from your family this weekend. You are showing them maybe for the first time, what a kept person looks like, and kept people keep others better. That has always been the secret economics of consecration. Nobody in your house loses when you are found. So there is no version of your life, none, that this window cannot fit. The full window for those with room, the small window for those without, the 5-minute window for the utterly besieged. What does not exist, what has never existed, is a life too full for QADASH, because setting apart is not an amount of time. It is a direction of heart, and hearts do not require appointments to turn. They require a decision, and decisions take 1 second, and you have already had that second tonight. Everything else is furniture. It begins tonight, the 3rd of July, or whatever evening finds you hearing this with the window still ahead. Tonight is the Jordan evening, the consecrate yourselves night, and it asks almost nothing and changes almost everything. Before you sleep, gather the instruments, 2 pieces of paper and a pen, set somewhere. You will see them tomorrow. A notebook for day 2. If you intend to burn rather than tear, a metal bowl or the grill, and water nearby, because holy things can still be done safely. Then decide the rooms. Look at tomorrow honestly, with its parade of obligations, and choose the 20 minutes. Name the hour out loud, even just to yourself. And if there is one person in your life who blesses rather than mocks, tell them what you are doing this weekend, in 1 sentence, no explanations. A witness doubles the weight of an intention. The camp at the Jordan consecrated together, tent by tent, and something of that is available to you through a single text message tonight. And then, sleep. Do not stay up rehearsing. The quiet deadline has already done its work in you. The appointment is already kept in the calendar of your soul, and sleep itself, entered with intention, is a form of trust. Tomorrow does not need you powerful. It needs you present. Then the morning of July 4th, wake, and before the phone, before the coffee, if you can manage it, hand to sternum, 1 press. The window is open, 60 seconds on the edge of the bed. What crosses with me today? Then live the ordinary day. The family, the food, the flags. You are not required to be solemn at the cookout. Joy is not the enemy of consecration. Distraction is, and they are not the same thing. At the hour you named, take the 20 minutes. The first paper, what ends here, written in short, brutal lines. Read it aloud once. Let the throat catch where it catches. Then the fire, or the tearing, or the burial, hands doing what the heart declares. The second paper, what crosses with me, 1 sentence, folded small, kept close. And when it is done, walk back into the noise of the holiday, lighter than you left it, and let the sky celebrate over your head. It will not know what it is celebrating in you. You will. Then July 5th, the day of the reverse direction. 3 sittings, 10 minutes, morning, midday, evening, phone in another room, notebook open, 1 question. What is the first step? Static first, always. Sit through it. Somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd sitting, the water clears. Write everything, grade nothing. Between sittings, keep the fast of inputs, no news, no feeds, no chatter of strangers poured into your freshly quiet house. If you have the 8-minute companion, day 2 is its natural home. Eyes closed, headphones on, the bridge being fed while you do absolutely nothing. Either way, the posture is the same. Receiver open. By the evening of the 5th, reread the pages. 1 line will weigh more than the others. You will know it the way a parent knows their child in a crowd. Circle it. That circle is tomorrow. Then July 6th, commissioning day. Size the circled line down until it fits inside a single day. 1 page, 1 call, 1 message, one act a stranger could photograph. Do it before evening if you can, because waiting until night gives the reflex 12 extra hours to negotiate. Hand to sternum first, one press. The window is open. Then the step taken while saying, "This is day 3 obedience." And when it is done, however small it looks, stand still for a moment and understand what just happened. The severed thing is behind you. The heard thing is beneath you. The step is taken. The third day pattern has completed itself in an ordinary American backyard weekend, and heaven keeps meticulous records of completed patterns. That night, the night of the 6th, do one last thing. Take out the folded paper, the one that crossed with you, and read it one final time. Then put it somewhere permanent, a Bible, a keepsake box, the frame of a mirror. It is no longer a plan. It is a covenant artifact, the physical proof that on a certain dated weekend you did not scroll past. There will be dim mornings in the months ahead when you will need to touch physical proof. You are building the evidence now. One more piece of equipment for the days after, and then the reassurances. I want to teach you how to recognize the answers when they come, because here is a strange truth about consecrated windows. Most people receive their turnarounds and never notice, because they were watching the front door while heaven used the side entrance. Remember the shape of the story of the sisters. The salary did not fall from the sky. It came through a reopened relationship, wearing ordinary clothes, weeks later. That is the signature. What flows out of a kept window almost never announces itself as a result of the window. It arrives disguised as coincidence, as timing, as a person who happened to think of you, as an old door that swings open with no visible hand on it. The unspiritual eye calls this luck. The keeper knows the difference because the keeper kept the ledger. So keep a ledger. In the same notebook that survives day 2, start a simple page on July 7th with one heading, "What moved?" And for the rest of July, write down every small, strange turn. The call you did not expect. The softening in a person who had been stone for years. The idea that arrived complete in the shower. The odd piece in a room that used to tighten your chest. Do not analyze the entries. Do not force connections. Just record. Evidence gathering is an act of faith. It says, "I expect movement, and I intend to notice it." And at the end of the month, read the page. I have watched people do this for years, and I will tell you what almost always happens. Alone, each entry looks small enough to dismiss. Together, on one page, in your own handwriting, they look like footprints, a line of them, leading away from the window, heading somewhere. And on the hard days of autumn, when the fog argues that nothing ever really happened, you will not need to win the argument with feelings. You will open the notebook and point. This is why the old stories are so obsessed with memorials, why they were forever stacking stones by rivers they had crossed. Not because God forgets, because people do. 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, piled where children would ask about them. Your ledger page is a pile of stones. Build it entry by entry, and when your own inner children ask, in some doubting December, whether the God of July was real, you will have somewhere to take them. There is one entry I can almost promise will appear on that page, so watch for it. Somewhere in the weeks after the window, someone will say to you, unprompted, some version of, "Something is different about you." They will not be able to name it, and you should not overwhelm them with the whole story. Just smile and thank them and write it down, because that unprompted sentence from an unsuspecting witness is the purest evidence there is. The change that others notice before you have explained it is change that actually took, and then, if their eyes stay curious, you will know what to send them. and you already know the one line to send it with. Do you see what you will be doing by then? Keeping the ledger, stacking the stones, forwarding the window. You will be living as a person under open heaven and taking notes. And that person bears almost no resemblance to the one who clicked on a warning about 3 dates, some hot night in early July, half expecting doom and secretly hoping for exactly what has happened here. And then comes July 7th, and this is where I must be your guide for 1 more mile, because the 7th is where windows are won or squandered. The world will call it an ordinary Monday. Nothing on the calendar will glow. And the oldest trick of the enemy of your soul is to let you have a holy weekend and then drown its seedlings in the first ordinary week. So the 7th belongs to the doorframe minute. 60 seconds, edge of the bed, what crosses with me today. The 8th, add the evening audit, 1 question with a pen. What did I move to later today? And give it a date. The 9th, begin the receiver as a daily fixture, 10 minutes, 1 question, inbound. And somewhere around the 10th, tell 1 person what happened in you over the weekend, not to impress them. Because spoken testimony sets concrete around inner change, and because your sentence, "This found me, and it sounded like you," may be the announcement in their Goshen. Day by day, the window becomes a life. That was always the design. 3 consecrated days were never meant to be a spiritual vacation you remember fondly. They are a hinge, and hinges are judged by what swings on them. Now, the reassurances, and I ask you to hear these as carefully as you heard the warnings, because half of you listening will need them by the 2nd week of July. There will be dim days again. Let me say it plainly so it cannot ambush you. Some morning soon, maybe the 8th, maybe the 18th, you will wake with the old fog sitting on your chest as if this entire evening never happened, and a voice will say, "See, nothing changed. It was all a feeling." When that morning comes, remember this sentence: dimness that returns is weather, not architecture. The house you rebuilt this weekend does not collapse because a cloudy day passes over it. Feelings report the sky. They have no authority over foundations. Hand to sternum, 1 press. The window is open, and walk into the day, fog and all. Because consecrated people are not people without weather. They are people whose weather no longer decides their address. And your practice will be imperfect. Hear this one deeply, you who were raised to believe that anything not done flawlessly is disqualified. You will miss a doorframe minute. You will scroll one evening like it is a profession. You will skip a sitting, forget the audit, snap at the person you vowed to be gentle with. None of that cancels the window. The covenant of this weekend was never contingent on your streak. Miss a day, and the next morning the practice is simply there again, unoffended, like a dog waiting by the door. Guilt is just the postponement tax wearing a religious costume. You do not pay that tax anymore. Return is always 1 press of the hand away. And one more reassurance, for a listener I have been carrying in my heart this whole message. Some of you are hearing this late. It is already the 5th as you listen, or the 6th, or the window has closed entirely, and you found this message on some later night, wondering if you missed everything. Beloved, breathe. You of all people should recognize what you are holding, because we spoke of Nineveh together. The God who honored a violent city inside its window is not going to disqualify you over a timestamp. If any part of the 3 days remains, consecrate what remains. A shortened window kept wholeheartedly outweighs a full one kept halfway. And if the dates have fully passed, then take the next 3 days you can honestly give and walk the same pattern. Release, silence, step. The July window was real, and I will not pretend dates do not matter. They are mercy, shaped like deadlines. But the deepest truth under this entire message is that the pattern belongs to God, not to the calendar, and he has been known to reopen windows for the sake of one soul standing at the glass. You are not too late for the pattern. Nobody who wants it is ever too late for the pattern. We are almost at the words I promised to speak over your life, and the name that comes after them. Whatever you do in the next few minutes, do not leave before the name. Everything tonight has been walking toward it. And while we are speaking honestly, there is one more act of honesty I owe you before the closing words, and it may be the most important protection I can leave with you. Let me tell you what this window is not, because holy things are ruined more often by wrong expectations than by wrong enemies. This window is not magic. The dates are not enchanted. The hours of July 5th do not glow differently in the physics of the world, and no ritual performed inside them compels heaven to do anything. If you walk into the weekend treating the practices like coins for a vending machine, you will walk out disappointed and call the disappointment proof. The window is an appointment, not an incantation. Its power is the power of two parties showing up at an agreed time, which has always been the most ordinary and the most miraculous thing in the world. And this window is not a test you can fail into exile. Some of you carry a picture of God in which every invitation is secretly an ambush, every window a trapdoor, and one wrong move means the whole thing is torn up in front of you. Chosen one, that picture came from somewhere in your story, and it did not come from the Father. If your day one is clumsy, if your silence is restless, if your step is late by a day, the window does not slam. Heaven grades these days the way a good parent grades a small child, helping in the kitchen. The flour on the floor is not counted against the bread. This window is also not the last one. I have told you the truthful cost of ignoring it. Another taxed year, another frozen figure in the hallway, and I will not soften that. But there is a difference between a real cost and a final verdict. And the enemy of your soul loves to forge the second out of the first. If you have already decided you will fail this weekend, so that scrolling past feels safer than trying, hear the record one more time. The God of Nineveh reopens windows. The cost of missing one is real. The doctrine that missing one is fatal comes from the courtroom behind your ribs, and that courtroom, as of tonight, is adjourned. And finally, this window is not about the window. Hear that strange sentence, because it holds the whole point. The purpose of these 3 days was never the 3 days. It is who you become by keeping them. A person who can hear a dated invitation and answer it. A person whose attention belongs to them again. A person with an open receiver and a marked doorframe and a ledger of moved things. Windows come and go. Keepers remain. Heaven is not collecting perfect weekends. It is forming a person it can trust with appointments, because the appointments never stop coming to those who keep them. So, walk into July 4th with clean expectations. Expect an appointment, not an enchantment. Expect a parent, not an examiner. Expect this window to be one in a long line of windows, and expect the keeping of it to change the keeper more than the kept days themselves. Expectations set at that honest level cannot be knocked over by a restless sitting or a numb release, and what cannot be knocked over gets to finish its work. That is the last of the teaching, truly now. What stands between you and the name is only the blessing, the gratitude, the letting go, and the declarations. The ceremony is short, the door is close. Come. But before the final words, let me troubleshoot the window with you, because I have walked people through set-apart days for a long time, and the same 5 difficulties arrive on schedule every time. If you know them in advance, none of them can shipwreck you. The first difficulty, you sit through all 3 sittings on July 5th and hear nothing. No weighted line, no clarity, just your own breath and a grocery list. If that happens, hear me. Silence from heaven and absence of heaven are not the same thing. Sometimes the first fruit of a consecrated silence is not a message but a measurement. God showing you how loud your inner rooms have become, so that the clearing itself becomes the assignment. Circle the quietest thing you wrote, even if it seems trivial, and take the smallest, faithful step you can see. Obedience with a dim lamp still counts as obedience. In fact, the old stories suggest it counts double. The second difficulty: you do the release on day one and feel absolutely nothing. No lightness, no tears, just a person standing over a torn paper, feeling slightly foolish. Chosen one, feelings are witnesses, not judges. Some releases register in the emotions instantly, and some register the way a cancelled subscription registers quietly next month, when the charge simply does not arrive. Watch for the absence of the old charge in the weeks ahead, the argument you do not replay, the name that passes without the spike. That is what a completed release looks like from inside a body that has been numb for years. The paperwork went through. The confirmation letter is simply slow. The third difficulty: the people around you. You live with someone who reads mockery into anything they do not understand, and part of you is already bracing for the raised eyebrow. So build the window quietly. Consecration has never required an audience, only a direction. Nobody at the cookout needs a press release about your 20 minutes. The Passover houses did not explain their doorframes to the neighborhood. They just marked them and kept the feast. Guard the holy thing by keeping it small and yours, and let the results, months from now, do all your explaining for you. What is set apart does not need to be announced. It needs to be kept. The fourth difficulty: the step scares you genuinely because the circled line from day 2 is not small. It touches your marriage, your work, your ministry, something with real stakes attached. If that is you, remember the sizing rule, because it exists for you. You are not asked to leap the canyon on July 6th. You are asked for one photographable act in the direction of the canyon bridge. The conversation can begin with a single sentence spoken. The exodus can begin with a box packed. Heaven does not grade the size of day 3. It grades the direction. And direction is something even a frightened person can choose. And the fifth difficulty, the one nobody expects. You may cry this weekend more than the occasion seems to warrant, at strange moments, over the papers or in the parked car or in the middle of the anthem at somebody else. Let it come. You are draining a reservoir that has been rising behind a dam of composure for years, and tears at a releasing are not a breakdown. They are the dam agreeing to open on schedule for once. No one in the old stories ever crossed anything with dry eyes. Bring tissues to your consecration. It is the most practical instruction in this entire message. 5 difficulties, 5 answers. The silent day, the numb release, the watching eyes, the frightening step, and the unexpected water. If any of them visits your window, you now recognize it at the door, and a recognized difficulty loses half its power at the threshold. The other half it loses when you keep going anyway. There is nothing left now between you and the closing words. What remains of this message is no longer information. It is ceremony, and ceremony is not something you listen to. It is something you enter. So enter. And now I keep the promise. Receive this the way you would receive water on a hot day, with both hands, without analyzing the glass. These are the words I speak over your life, over your window, over the 3 days that heaven set apart and the enemy hoped you would sleep through. I speak over your July 4th, that while a nation fills the sky with fire, a quieter fire does its work in a metal bowl behind your house, and that every name and habit and verdict written on that first paper loses its lease in your life the moment the flame takes it. That your hands do not tremble at the releasing, or that they tremble and release anyway, which is the braver thing and heaven knows it. That the lightness you feel walking back to the table is noticed by the child in the hallway who has waited a long time to see you put things down. I speak over your July 5th that the static thins quickly and the water clears early. That the parked car, the porch step, the edge of the bed, whichever poor and ordinary chapel you can find, holds a presence that startles you. That one line arrives in your notebook with a weight your hand can feel as it writes, and that when you circle it, you know the way the deep part of you has always known things a day before the rest of you agrees. And I speak over your July 6th, that the step, sized down to a single day, looks almost laughably small in the morning and entirely holy by nightfall, that your finger does not hover over send for an hour, that the door handle turns easily, that the page accepts its ink, and that in the trembling second before the act, the press of your own hand against your own chest is enough, because it was built to be, 3 days of evidence stand behind it. I speak over the 7th and the 8th and the ordinary grey mornings beyond them. Weather, not architecture. Return, not streak. A window kept imperfectly by a person kept perfectly, held by the one who schedules appointments and reschedules them, who honored Nineveh inside its deadline and reads doorframes at midnight, who watched what the locusts took and filed the restoration claim before you were old enough to write your own name. And over all of it, over the whole 72 hours and the year that swings on them, I speak the oldest blessing a window has ever received. That the Lord bless you and keep you, that his face be toward you in the silence of day 2, so unmistakably that the question changes from, is anyone listening, to what is he about to say? And that peace, the settled kind, the kind that does not check the sky for weather before it commits, take up residence behind your sternum, one hand width beneath your folded paper, in the room with the window whose latch you have already turned. Let those words find their level in you, like water finding the low and honest places. You do not need to do anything with a blessing. It is not an assignment. It is rain. Your only task is to be ground. And now, look at where we are. The teaching is finished. The map is drawn, the practices are named, the days are assigned, the anchor is set in your chest, and the blessing has been spoken. Everything I know how to give you has been given. There remain only 3 things in this message: the gratitude, the letting go, and the declarations, and then the name. Stay for the name. It is the last door of the night, and it opens from your side. Before anything is declared, there must be a moment of simple witness, because gratitude is the ground declarations grow from. So just for a breath or two, let us stand in what has already happened tonight, not what will happen this weekend. You arrived here restless and unexplained to yourself. You are leaving named, mapped, and expected. Somewhere in the last hour, a weight you had carried so long you thought it was your skeleton turned out to be luggage. That already happened. It is already true. Nothing about the weekend can unhappen it. And notice who did the heavy lifting. Not you, straining, truth, arriving. You were not fixed tonight. You were found. And being found requires nothing but staying still long enough to be seen. You managed that. After years of outrunning every quiet moment that tried to catch you, tonight you let one catch you. Let that be witnessed. Here, in the record of this hour, the Father saw it. The hallway saw it. And now you have seen it too. Now the letting go, and we will do it with the breath, because the breath is the one ceremony you carry everywhere and can never leave behind in a drawer. Breathe in slowly, and as you do, gather every postponed year into that one breath, every window you slept through, every verdict from the courtroom behind your ribs, every installment of the tax, every hour the reflex stole. Hold it at the top, just for a moment, the way you have held it all for decades. Feel the full weight of it, one last time, honestly. And now breathe out through the mouth, long and unhurried. And as the breath leaves, open your hands, wherever they are, on your lap, on the wheel, at your sides. Turn them palm down and let them open, and let the whole gathered weight fall from them, like a stone released over deep water. Do not throw it. Release is not throwing. Just stop holding and let the deep take what the deep has always been willing to take. Hear it enter the water. Feel how the hands feel, empty in the way a field is empty in spring, which is to say, ready. Take one more breath like that, gathering anything that hid from the first one, the stubborn residue, the shame that answers to no argument, the last coin of the tax, out through the mouth. Palms open, the stone falls, the water closes over it without complaint, and the surface stills, and it is gone, and you are still here, which is the entire miracle of release. The weight was never load-bearing. Look, the house stands, and one final breath, but this one is different. This one you take for the 3 days themselves. Breathe in the window, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the fire and the silence and the step, and do not release this one downward. Let this one settle into the chest, into the room with the open window, into the ground floor of you, where intentions become architecture. Some things we release, some things we install. You have just done both. In the span of 3 breaths, and your body will remember the difference longer than your mind will. Now stand up on the inside, whatever your body is doing, and declare with me, these are not affirmations, little wishes, dressed in confidence. These are statements of settled fact, spoken from the far side of everything tonight has uncovered. Say them aloud if you have any privacy at all, because the voice carries the body, and the body carries the days. Say them quietly if you must, but say them. I am not late. The window that matters is in front of me, not behind me. I am not lazy, and I never was. I was taxed, and the tax ends this weekend. I am not ordinary. I was born at full capacity, and what was dimmed in me was never dead. I am set apart for these 3 days. My hours are reassigned. My doorframe is marked. I am the one who releases on the 4th. What ends here, ends here. I am the one who listens on the 5th. My receiver is open, and the static does not frighten me. I am the one who steps on the 6th. I do not need the staircase. I need the stair. I am the keeper of a claim that heaven approved before I knew what had been taken. The locusts owe, and the Father collects, and I am done guarding an empty vault. I am present, not perfect, not finished, not fearless, present. And presence is the whole price of the wonder. And I am not scrolling past my own life. Not this weekend. Not again. Let the last echo of those words settle. Somewhere in you, in the room with the open window, something just stood at attention that has been slouching for years. That posture is yours to keep. It does not go back. Now, the final phrase of the night, the one that gathers all the others. If you have declared these things and you mean to keep the days, go to the comments one last time and write, consecrated for the window. 4 words. Let them stand there with your name beside them, among thousands of others, a wall of marked door frames stretching across the night, every one of them visible from wherever announcements are sent. When the enemy of your soul scrolls that wall looking for an unguarded house, let him find yours marked. And now it is finished, in the way that beginnings are finished. The window is prepared. The keeper is named and knows it. The 3 days stand at the door with their gifts in their hands. It is done. And yet, one promise remains. made in the very first minutes of this message, before you knew what the restlessness was, before the tacks and the reflex and the hallway had names. I told you that at the end I would place a name on you, the name heaven uses for the person who refuses to slide past a set-apart moment. You have earned the hearing of it, not by being perfect this hour, but by staying to the end of it, which is its own small consecration. So here it is. You are the window keeper, not the window maker. The dates were never yours to set, and the wonders were never yours to schedule, and not the window watcher either, because watchers stand outside the glass and feel the light on their faces and call the feeling faith. No, the keeper, the one entrusted with set-apart time, the one who, when heaven dates an invitation, writes it into the flesh of an actual weekend, gathers the papers, silences the phone, sits in the parked car, takes the photographable step. Every generation has a handful of them, and every move of God in history has traveled through their kept windows like light, through the only clean glass in the house. You have been one all along. That is what the restlessness was, the keeper in you, waking before you did, the way it always wakes when a window approaches. Tonight did not make you the window keeper. Tonight only told you your name, and a named thing can finally be lived on purpose. So now there are 3 doors in front of you as this message closes, and a keeper knows what to do with doors. If you have not yet written your 4 words, the comments are waiting, consecrated for the window, your doorframe, marked among the thousands. If day 2 is to have its furnace, the description and the pinned comment hold the one door I trust, the 8-minute companion for a starving bridge, and your spirit already knows its answer, so trust the leaning. And if a face crossed your mind tonight, someone dimmed and dear, and running out of days to find this, send it to them with the one line, "This found me, and it sounded like you." Keepers keep windows for other people too. That has always been the second half of the job. And then close this message, and do not replace it with another one. Let tonight be the last input before the window. Put the phone in the other room early, gather the 2 papers, name the hour, and sleep the sleep of a person who is expected somewhere in the morning. Because you are, for the first time in a long time, you know exactly where you are supposed to be this weekend, and it is not everywhere. It is 3 small rooms inside 3 loud days, with your name on the door of each one. July 4th, July 5th, July 6th. You were told these dates would cost you everything if you ignored them, and now you know precisely what that meant. Not fire from the sky, but another year of the tax, another frozen figure in the hallway, another version of you cancelled by a hover. That cost is real, and it is the only cost in this entire story, and it is entirely, gloriously avoidable. So do not ignore the window. Keep it. Release on the first day, listen on the second, step on the third, and then watch, through the whole turning year, what grows in a life that finally stopped scrolling past its own appointments. The wonder was always scheduled, chosen one. The only thing heaven left open was whether you would be present for it. And that question, tonight, you have already answered.